AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dream at leavingil.com.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be warmer with plenty of sunshine, reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect a crystal clear sky with a low of 58. Tomorrow will be breezy, not as warm, with high thin cloudiness and a high of 73. Sunday is set to be beautiful with shifting clouds and sun, reaching a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, just with an eye towards the November elections, both midterms as well as statewide. Boy, the more you see from the left in terms of the candidates they have unearthed to run for critical offices, the more opportunity it provides for Republicans to hang on, perhaps in some cases in spite of themselves, but nonetheless, it is a binary choice. Some candidates... Fox News Channel interviewed Tom Tiffany, who's the sitting Republican congressman running for governor of Wisconsin. This is an important gubernatorial race, opportunity to claw back in Wisconsin. And since Illinois chose not to have much of a governor's race, maybe people pay a little bit more attention, get a little bit more engaged in that one. One of the candidates that is reputedly viable is a legislator named Francesca Hong. And, I mean, it's a familiar profile, but that it's happening in Wisconsin. And, you know, it's hard to say because Wisconsin is a state that elects Ron Johnson and then turns around and elects Tony Evers. Or on the Senate side, you know, that leftist lesbian. Her name's not important. Francesca Hong, Fox News reporting, Tom Tiffany responding.
The Democratic Socialist wrote this in 2020. I support defunding the police as a first step towards abolishing the police. Hong expressed similar views just a year later, saying police exist to uphold white supremacy, defund, then abolish. Reform can't be an option.
She meant it when she said not just defund police, but abolish police. But she's taken positions like she's defended grooming of children, voting against a bill that would have stopped grooming with children. This is the extreme of the extreme. There's another candidate in the field also that he offered to have free beer if there's the assassination of Donald Trump happens. It is truly in Wisconsin crazy versus common sense. That's going to be the choice the voters are going to have here in Wisconsin, because there's a whole bunch of candidates on the Democrat side and they are all going in the same direction of socialism and crazy.
All right, we're going to be...
Well, that's that party in general. And I know there's some concern that the Black Caucus may be diminishing, at least black leftist members of Congress. But the good news for the left is it may, as that declines, you may see a rise in the Islamist caucus. You've got the prospect of an Islamist nominee for U.S. Senate in Abdul El Sayed, Michigan, to join Rashida Tlaib. But this is sort of next level. This congressional candidate in New Jersey, his name is Adam Hamaway. And he is a plastic surgeon who volunteered with an al-Qaeda-linked organization in Bosnia, who traveled with the blind sheik who was convicted in World Trade Center bombing #1. This is really, I mean, tough to be surprised by what the left puts forward, but Adam Hamaway, this post from Jewish Insider has it's not really a scoop, but it's sort of a scoop because this was reported decades ago. This guy's name was mentioned, but never in this context of a congressional candidate. Remarkable. His relationship with terrorist mastermind Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman loomed over his rapid rise in the race to succeed a retiring congresswoman in New Jersey in a Dem district. The relationship spanned a 1991 road trip the two took together to Detroit. He served as the blind sheik's translator for a press conference in which he denied any role in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. And Hamaway's testimony on his behalf at his 1995 trial, where he was convicted of plotting and carrying out the terrorist attacks in New York City. But just a year before he was convicted, and after he had denied any role in the World Trade Center bombing, but after it took place and he was the chief suspect, he took the witness stand to describe his travels with Rahman with another party entangled in terrorist conspiracies to Bosnia, with a group subsequently shut down for providing logistical support to al-Qaeda. In a 1996 interview with the Newark Star-Ledger, this candidate, Hamaway, described volunteering in Bosnia during the summer of 1994 with a Chicago-based nonprofit. Of course, it has to be Chicago-based. With a Chicago-based nonprofit called the Benevolence International Foundation. He said, I worked in Sarajevo for 10 days and then the rest in Zenica, a large regional center in central Bosnia. We went out to hospitals around the area and in the mountains to check what supplies they needed, and we tried to deliver them. Those were the cities where the Benevolence International Foundation maintained its offices that were raided in 2002 as part of a joint effort with the U.S. to dismantle the group, which they had identified as a front for al-Qaeda. The 9/11 Commission report would later identify the foundation's base in Sarajevo as part of the, quote, impressive array of offices that covertly provided financial and other support for terrorist activities of Osama bin Laden. Hamaway has been endorsed by, you will not be surprised to learn, Comrade Bernie, Ro Khanna, Brotherly Love Spice, Ilhan Omar, the front girl for the Socialist Spice Band, AOC, Rashida Tlaib. According to evidence that federal prosecutors proffered in court, the 2002 raids on the Bosnian offices recovered weapons, correspondence between the group's CEO and bin Laden from the 80s and 90s, letters from other al-Qaeda leaders on battles and financial transactions, a photo of the CEO and bin Laden together, an org chart of al-Qaeda, a handwritten list of top donors to al-Qaeda, copies of never-before seen documents concerning al-Qaeda's 1988 founding and its admissions policies, and details regarding training camps and al-Qaeda operations in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Sudan. But he was just a doctor checking on hospitals, making sure there were supplies. Right. Working for this organization. No idea what was going on behind the scenes. Sure. A poli-sci professor and historian at the Sarajevo School of Science and Technology recounts what many of us lived through, which is the global mobilization of Muslims to aid Muslims in the Balkans during the Balkan Wars. He offers a lot of them wanted to go and defend Muslims from non-Muslims persecuting them. You had these organizations like Benevolence, which this congressional candidate worked for, like the Third World Relief Agency, which were operating this chaotic situation, and some of them were absolute fronts for radical Islamists, others were ordinary charities. But even in these ordinary charities, you could also have radicals or extremists infiltrating them. And as I mentioned, the Benevolence Foundation ultimately shut down. According to the testimony of FBI agent Robert Walker, Benevolence International was originally the creation of a al-Qaeda financier. The group operated in tandem with al-Qaeda across multiple nations, providing it with logistical support. Just to close this out, he has referenced his time, the candidate now, in Bosnia only glancingly on the campaign trail. He told a Turkish state TV interviewer his work in the Balkans was not through the army, but another volunteer mission, but he didn't mention the Benevolence International Foundation by name for obvious reasons. Then he told a local New Jersey station, I was in Bosnia early on in 95, which, if accurate, would mean he either spent more time in the country than he acknowledged in his interview in the Star Ledger back in 1996, or was there during a different period than he described in the newspaper. And this has been revisited in part because he has given prominence to his volunteer work in Gaza during Israel's war with Hamas, including at the European hospital in Khan Yunis. The IDF struck that hospital repeatedly in 2025 to take out an underground Hamas command center it said operated beneath the medical center. In multiple interviews, he has denied the existence of such a terrorist post under that hospital and insisted that the facility was, quote, a completely benign civilian hospital with no tunnels underneath it. Old habits die hard. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, contradicted his account with footage, evidence of subterranean passages, including where it reportedly recovered the body of Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. Hamas subsequently confirmed that killing. I mean, wow. That is a lot there. Boy, that's over the course of 3 decades, that is a lot of interaction with terrorist organizations, Islamist terrorist organizations, and the leadership of said. Could be an interesting November election, to say the least. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to the property tax proposal that Ron DeSantis has put forward, while back at home here in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker tells you that just as people are not fleeing, your property taxes are not increasing. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
52 degrees. Skies are clear this morning. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, we have a warmer day ahead with plenty of sunshine. And our top story, do we or don't we have a deal? Returning from an event with Air Force Academy graduates Thursday night, Vice President Vance telling reporters at Joint Base Andrews it's hard to say exactly when or if President Trump will sign a memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran, extending a ceasefire for at least 60 days.
We're going back and forth on a couple of language points. I do think that we've made a lot of progress here. It's very clear that I think the Iranians, they want a deal, and they want to open the Straits of Hormuz. We want them to open the Straits of Hormuz. There are a couple of issues on the nuclear stuff, the highly enriched stockpile, and also the question of enrichment.
The bodies of 6 out of 9 missing victims at the Nippon Dynawave packaging plant in Longview, Washington, after a chemical explosion have been recovered. A fire erupts at an apartment complex in downtown Dallas on Thursday, killing 3, causing a massive amount of damage to the building and many other injuries. Dallas Fire spokesperson Jason Evans.
Residents that have been displaced or otherwise impacted have been provided hotels by the city.
Fire investigators responded to a call of a gas leak. An investigation is underway following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's west side. One person died following the incident yesterday in the 3700 block of West Lexington. One man is dead, pulled from Lake Michigan near Diversey Harbor. Police say Matthew McCullough was found unresponsive yesterday in the water in the 2500 block of North Lakeshore Drive. He was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. His death is under investigation. At the height of state budget negotiations, Republican lawmakers say Democrat leaders have once again pulled the rug out from underneath them. 4 state Senate Republican budgeteers, including Senator Don DeWitt of West Dundee, warned that the new 3,178-page version of the Illinois budget previously introduced will not be anything like the final product.
In many ways, I would say the budget process is rolling out similarly to previous years.
Senator Sally Turner from Lincoln agrees, including pointing out a last-minute initiative slipped in the new budget to impose a digital advertising tax.
It's going to get passed down to small businesses that rely on advertising to reach customers to grow their business base.
And earlier this week, Governor J.B. Pritzker suggested a delay in the motor fuel tax increase set to take effect in July that may be a part of the final budget. Chicago sports. Cubs split their 4-game set with the Pirates with a 7-2 win at PNC Park, while the White Sox captured a series victory, topping the Twins 6-2 in their finale in Chicago. The news, a service of Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance. With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. A win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, and we'll have a check of your AccuWeather forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center in 2 minutes.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Have you been watching gold and silver lately? Hard to ignore. Back in January of 2025, silver was under $30 an ounce, and now it's more than doubled. Again, not bad, right? Some experts say this bull market is just getting started. Others say it's a good time to take some money off the table. Either way, whether you're buying or selling, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is the place to go. They stock large quantities of all the major bullion coins and bars. And here's what sets them apart. Unlike places that only pay melt value, Fox Valley Coins pays more for high-grade coins and scarcer dates. That's real money left in your pocket. They also buy scrap sterling flatware, jewelry, silver-plated items, and old proof sets. And they specialize in U.S. and foreign collector and investment coins and currency, both buying and selling. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at Ferry Road in Naperville. Family-owned with integrity since 1981.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be warmer with plenty of sunshine, reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect a crystal clear sky with a low of 58. Tomorrow will be breezy and not as warm with high thin cloudiness and a high of 73. Sunday is looking beautiful with shifting clouds and sun reaching a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a postscript on the discussion of the neo-Marxist candidate offerings and some high-profile races. And these races are important even if they're not where you live and vote, because the high-profile races, whether because they represent the key races in determining the balance of power, who controls the House, who controls the Senate, governor's mansions, governor's races are always important. There's going to be a lot of spend devoted to these races, so they have a disproportionate impact on defining the party. You know, who are these people that present themselves as quote-unquote Democrats? Who are these people that present themselves as Republicans? Remember how good the left did at characterizing the Tea Party candidates of a bygone era, because you had a couple of outliers who were poor candidates running for big offices. Senate in Missouri, Aiken. Senate in Delaware, the I am not a witch chick. And those two high-profile races, with the help of the D.C. press corps, but that's always built into the price, helped to marginalize otherwise talented, responsible candidates, made their jobs more difficult, and maybe ended up, it's hard to measure, but maybe ended up influencing the outcomes in other races around the country to the benefit of said self-identified Democrats. So Graham Plattner, James Tellerico, whichever neo-Marxist the Wisconsin neo-Marxist nominate to run against Tom Tiffany, this Islamist Al-Qaeda-linked candidate for Congress in New Jersey that we were just discussing, they matter. They matter beyond the boundaries of their district or their state. And so just on that score, let's update Graham Plantner in Maine, because the Purple Heart recipient that he criticized, ridiculed, saying he should have never made it out of Iraq, he's responded. So it's almost like a little bit of a swift boat. Veterans for Truth here. Teddy Daniels is his name. Piece in the Wall Street Journal. I'm the soldier Graham Plantner mocked. He writes something that's more telling, more descriptive about the dynamic than just this race, just Graham Plantner. Democratic men are having an identity crisis. Maine's Graham Plantner, the party's presumptive nominee for U.S. Senate in Maine, is a prime example. He presents himself as a savior for working-class Americans while his background screams the opposite. And his offensive comments about fellow veterans, including me, speak poorly of his character. It's a tough pitch. This is my aside. It's a tough pitch for the left. Vote for the guy with the Nazi tattoo on his chest to stop the Nazi Republicans. Yeah. Back to Daniels. The tough-talking Marine veteran struts around in a Carhartt jacket and jeans, but recent reporting relates that he comes from a prestigious family where he had access to an elite private school education and a lifestyle of privilege. He also plays up his job as an oyster farmer, but his only client mentioned in his federal financial disclosure was the restaurant his mom owns. He's been caught disparaging the service of fellow veterans like Chris Kyle, American Sniper, J.D. Vance. He also disparaged me while commenting on a viral video of a firefight in which I sustained numerous wounds from a Taliban ambush. I think I should have never escaped Iraq. I meant Afghanistan. That's what Graham Plantner said, words to that effect. Back to Daniels. I received a Purple Heart for my injuries, but Plantner cheered for my death from behind a keyboard. Unlike Plantner, neither Kyle, Vance, nor Daniels grew up rich. He writes, I was the son of a brick mason father and a mother who worked at a textile mill. My father, who died of cancer several years ago, would have had a field day with Plantner. He was always talking about the spoiled rich kid politicians who came out to job sites to get votes and take pictures. Dad would comment on the work boots they wore, boots that never saw a day of work, and their Carhartt jackets, which still had creases from being on the shelf at the Tractor Supply store. It's pretty good and true. Flannel shirt and all, writes Daniels, Graham Plantner is Tim Walz on steroids, an entitled brat who campaigns with socialist Bernie Sanders. A real man by the lights of the Democratic Party, he presents himself as relatable to working-class Americans, but in reality he's a typical elitist who believes blue-collar, hard-working, salt-of-the-earth rural Americans are stupid and racist. I couldn't care less about comments he made about me, but they're a reflection of his character. I never thought I'd see a day when Democrats would even consider backing a candidate like this. I think a lot of people around the country, including some that may be left of center but not part of the neo-Marxist revolution, are saying that to themselves. I never thought I'd see a day when Democrats would even consider backing a candidate like this. I think some Texas Democrats are thinking the same, although their choice between Tallarico and Crockett was not an enviable one, I concede. Tallarico in Texas is busily trying to walk back comments like this. What is a woman? KBJ might not know. James Tallarico does not care.
Of the state, one of our neighbors with the uterus to be able to control their own body.
Neighbors with a uterus. Yeah, he's the one that's been busily trying to popularize that. And he sat down with an interview, CBS News, to try to provide some context to all of the radical identitarian statements he's made, frankly, the heretical statements he's made using the Bible to defend his identitarian politics that have been the subject of blistering ads right out of the gate since Paxton secured the nomination. For example,
Move over, Davy Crockett. There's a new Texas Trailblazer in town, and their name is James Tallarico, the man who bragged, "Our office is the first in the history of Texas to add pronouns to our official business cards."
I am running around like a crazy person today,
spreading his white skin wherever he goes.
I am not a perfect Christian. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity, and it's a painful process.
Bearing the cross of white skin and unambiguous masculinity.
I was a big nerd in high school. Never played sports. I probably shouldn't out myself like this. Sex is a spectrum, and oftentimes it can be very ambiguous. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Straight from Revelations in the woke James Bible.
I want us all to be aware of that. There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
And on the 7th day, they rested. But not James Tallarico. He built an ark big enough for all creatures.
To be able to write legislation that benefits not just the people, but also our animal friends.
Just like the Supreme Court said, 1 cow, 1 vote.
Now, existential, that we try to reduce our meat consumption. That's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do.
The 11th commandment, thou shalt not smoke brisket.
I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
So step aside, Sam Houston. Tallarico's bravery towers over Texas. He's fighting for all 6 genders and tens of thousands of species.
I guess we just have a different moral yardstick.
You know what insults Jesus?
Binary white people who eat barbecue and remember the Alamo?
There's only been one perfect Christian.
And they certainly weren't a carnivorous, Caucasian, binary Homo sapien, according to the woke Gospel of James.
They're going to call me a radical leftist, un-Texan, un-American.
And bar none, the weirdest candidate for Senate the Lone Star State has ever seen.
Yeah, trying to get that weirdness stink off of them. It's going to be difficult. A text from 219, Neighbors with a Uterus. Wasn't that the name of your garage band? Yes, it was a Culture Club cover band. You know, we used to kill with Karma Chameleon. The CBS interview where he is trying to soften the edges of some of his weirdness.
During debate over transgender issues, you said God is non-binary. What did you mean by that?
Well, you know, I think I was being intentionally provocative with that statement. But what it means is that God can't be defined by human categories. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Galatians, says that in Christ there is neither male nor female. I'm always going to stand up for Texans who are being picked on by the most powerful, most corrupt politicians in the country, and I'm going to continue doing that in this race and hopefully in the U.S. Senate.
You call it intentionally provocative. Do you regret describing it that way or talking about God that way?
There are some statements that I've made that I certainly regret. There are statements that I've made where I've missed the mark. I'll be the first to admit that. But Ken Paxton is intentionally clipping my cringy comments to distract from his career of corruption.
Your comments are cringy. Well, which ones? Which ones missed the mark? How did they miss the mark? You were being intentionally provocative? I don't think he was being intentionally provocative. If anything, I think he is a flim-flam man. You know, a leftist televangelist. But I don't. But when you say cringy and miss the mark, I want details and explanations. This is just his way to pivot away. You know, I'm gonna, sort of walk it back without saying I'm walking it back. I'm gonna cast myself as standing for the marginalized without having to get into the substance of the matter, and then pivot to try to make the race about Ken Paxton and his moral and ethical failings rather than my weirdness and radical identitarian ideology. So that's what's happening. There's a reason it's happening is because James Tallarico can't sell in a general election what he's been selling to rise within the ranks of the neo-Marxists, which is my point. And now the party writ large has to deal with them if they're going to spend $50, $100, $150 million to try to pick up that seat. High profile. Beto O'Rourke part deux, but even way weirder than Bobby O. And how did that work out for Texas? Texas neo-Marxists, that is. Greg, Rogers Park.
Well, Dan, here in Illinois, Deb Conroy of DuPage County, many of the judges here in Cook County, almost all of our aldermen, our mayor, they're just like these people you've been discussing here this morning. And everything, too, Attorney the Archdiocese of Chicago, many priests, just like this guy running for Senate in Texas. So right here in our own backyard, unfortunately, we don't have the media, enough people to run against him to contrast it and show it out for what it's worth.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Yeah, and Juliana Stratton, the Senate candidate, next senator, for all intents and purposes, replaced Durbin. Her value prop? Race, sex, F Trump. Those are the three prongs of her campaign, the value proposition of her candidacy. Race, my sex, F Trump. Good enough for Illinois, I suppose. Switching gears, quickly. George in Naperville.
And do we know if Mr. Rogers ever said, howdy, neighbor, with the uterus?
Thanks for the call, George. I don't recall that, no. In states that have chosen not to live this way, like Florida, what Ron DeSantis has been talking about, he has now delivered in pertinent part. He's provided form to it. Now he's got to get it through the state legislature on the ballot for November, which he's promised to do. It's really interesting. Ron DeSantis moving to eliminate property taxes on homesteaded properties in Illinois. You want to talk about being a champion of aspiring families in the lower middle to upper middle striving quintiles. Ron DeSantis on Sean Hannity explaining the philosophy behind his proposal, and we'll get into the details.
Home for 20 years, and I want the American dream available for people of all walks of life, but particularly our young people who are starting families. You're going to be able to buy a tax, that's going to be or buy a house and have that tax relieved from you. That is going to be a huge, huge boon. But what I've also said, Sean, people say, oh, you're not going to have any police, schools, all this other stuff. Well, when we had $32 billion coming in 2019, we had all that. Now there's $60 billion, so you can give the taxpayers a break. But because we have a surplus, we're going to create a state trust fund, and we'll issue grants to local governments. If some police department needs help, we'll do it. We'll do school districts. I'm fine with doing that. We have the resources to do it. So at some point, we've got to stand for our local property owners vis-a-vis these property taxes, and I think it's going to be a home run. There's nothing more we can do in Florida government to put money in people's pockets other than this property tax initiative.
No income tax in Florida, as you know. Property tax revenue collected by local governments, as he mentioned, has doubled in the past 7 years, $32 billion to $60 billion. So that was his point. Before it doubled, we had all these amenities, the core services of government. We're still going to have them. We have surpluses because we're growing. People want to come here. People are coming here. They're putting down stake. They're making investments. They're growing our economy. So we have options. We can do both. We can continue to fund the core services of government and return value to people's, to Florida families through the largest investment most people will make in their lifetime. Begin by exempting the first $250,000 of a homestead's value from taxation and requiring a schedule for full elimination. This is the Save Our Homes proposal. So the first $250,000 of your homestead, of your home's value for homesteaded properties is exempt from taxation. Give you a sense of that. I don't know what the number is in Illinois, but in Florida, just that alone, And it escalates from there. Just that alone eliminates property taxes for 60% of Florida homeowners. 60%, just there. Once you raise it to $500,000, which is where he wants to take it, that would eliminate property taxes for 92% of Florida homeowners. Eliminate, based on his projections and how Florida does the property taxation. As you heard him say there, DeSantis, I'd rather focus on folks who are new homeowners, young people, seniors on fixed incomes, the middle income folks. And so this will be really significant, very significant. So that guy, the object of ridicule from the likes of Triple Threat, Lori Lightfoot, and Jelly Belly during COVID, to present, Gavin Newsom, as people flee those states like it's on fire. So who's delivering for the 99%, or certainly the 92%, based on where DeSantis wants to take this with all due speed? Meanwhile, you have the ponderous Pritzker posting on X, we have to decide if we want to be a country where working families can afford to buy homes or one where home ownership is out of reach for everyone. Right, because he's the champion. Why? Because he said he is. And what has he done? Well, property taxes in Illinois during his tenure have increased 33%. Average annual increase 4.1%. Another $11 billion in property taxes extracted from property owners in Illinois. So $11 billion more. Well, we had all the services we have now back then. So where's the property tax relief? Well, you can get by on less since we've given more. No, that's not coming, and you know it. Compare and contrast. Models of governance side by side. Look closely. And meanwhile, Crain's, the anti-business Chicago Business Journal, has this piece on Jelly Belly. I mean, they're pathetic. Pritzker ran for office 8 years ago saying he wanted to be the state's chief marketing officer. And he talks about leaning into economic development. Here's how it's going. Oh, we've got all these credit upgrades. Yeah, we still have the lowest credit rating, bond rating in the country. He had to deal with a financial mess he inherited. Every governor has created a financial mess and left one in my lifetime. Nothing new. But he has struggled to change the underlying fundamentals of the economy. Of the Illinois economy. You don't say. Despite all of his wonderful rent-seeking gambits, which Crain's endorses, because they think rent-seeking is entrepreneurship, public-private partnerships everywhere. That's what we need. Well, again, look at the approach in, say, the state of Florida under a two-term governor, and look at the results, and do the same in Illinois. Decide for yourselves. All we can do is present the evidence. Coming up at 6:06, we'll look at that possible Iranian MOU. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
We're still waiting for President Trump's approval. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, on a potential agreement to extend the Iran ceasefire for 60 days. He tells Laura Trump in an interview that'll air on her show tomorrow night.
That's what I do. I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards.
Now to Fox's Jeff Paul in Dubai.
Here is what's on the table regarding the potential 60-day agreement. The Strait of Hormuz fully reopens and mines are removed within 30 days. The U.S. lifts its blockade, allowing Iran to sell oil freely. Iran agrees to not pursue a nuclear weapon, and talks begin on disposing its enriched uranium. There would also be discussions surrounding humanitarian aid for Iran, and a conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon would then end.
Russia's war in Ukraine has spilled over into Romania again after a drone launched across the border.
The drone, packed with explosives, hit the roof of an apartment building in Galati, Romania, starting a fire on the top 10th floor.
The city's emergency response agency says a woman and her child are hospitalized with minor injuries, and 70 people are evacuated from the building. The drone was part of an overnight attack on Ukraine. Galati is on the Danube River near the borders of Ukraine and Moldova. A drone crash in Romania last month caused damage, but these are the first injuries.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. A big setback for Blue Origin. A big explosion lit up the night sky at Cape Canaveral. A rocket being tested before next week's launch blew up.
The mega rocket had been preparing to bring 48 satellites into low Earth orbit in the coming weeks in a mission that would have expanded Amazon's broadband capabilities. Blue Origin CEO Jeff Bezos says no one was hurt. He says it is also too early to know what caused this blast. He took to X, writing in part, quote, "Very rough day, but we'll rebuild whatever needs rebuilding."
That's Fox's Carly Shimkus. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are clear. Sunrise in 52. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, good morning. I'm Mike Scott. An investigation is underway following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's West Side. One person died following the incident yesterday in the 3700 block of West Lexington. One man is dead, pulled from Lake Michigan near Diversey Harbor. Police say Matthew McCullough was found unresponsive yesterday in the water in the 2500 block of North Lakeshore Drive. McCullough died at the scene on a day a beach hazard warning was in effect for Lake Michigan beaches due to the dangerous high waves and currents. A man died Thursday evening after setting fire inside a Southwest Side home that spread to other buildings.
So a typical fire would start with maybe 25 to 50 personnel on the scene to ensure its safety. Here, that escalated quickly. We had, I'd say, over 200 members at one point on the scene, all working to get it under control and get it accounted for the residents and everybody in the building.
Chicago Fire says the blaze broke out around 6:45 last night in a home in the 5000 block of South Campbell. A 56-year-old man, according to Chicago police, started that fire while inside the home, causing the home and two other buildings to catch fire. Mayor Brandon Johnson pleased after meeting the Pope in Vatican City. The mayor also invited Pope Leo to conduct Mass in Chicago's Grant Park next year. White Sox topped the Twins 6-2. Cubs beat the Pirates 7-2. The Bears finishing up this week's OTAs. The news service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you. Visit 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Scott Jennings says we need to recognize the problem.
What is going on here? This judge apologizing to someone who's trying to kill the president? Democrats programming violent left-wing radicals, blaming things like climate change instead of the people that they have radicalized? We have a left-wing violence problem in this country. Everyone knows it. Failure to acknowledge it is only going to make it worse.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Your kitchen's outdated. Your bathroom feels cramped. Every day you wait, prices go up. And you keep living in a space that doesn't work. At Forever Remodeling, one team handles everything. Design, planning, and installation, start to finish. We show you your new space in 3D before we ever break ground. No surprises. With flexible financing options, the home you want is closer than you think. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com to schedule your personalized in-home design consultation.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire? Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence. Learn principles of income planning. There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring. Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. Crosscom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, Crosscom can start doing your repairs. Crosscom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, Crosscom does it all.
Call Crosscom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Leitch with Crosscom. We share your conservative and Christian values. Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
6:18 Hochberg Traffic Center time. In Wheaton, an accident, Roosevelt Road and Saddle. Tri-State stop-and-go traffic already this morning, northbound right at the Reagan, I-88. Stop-and-go traffic due to an earlier accident on the Stevenson inbound between Harlem and Pulaski. Traffic, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with plenty of sunshine, reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect a crystal clear sky with a low of 58. Tomorrow will be breezy and not as warm with high thin cloudiness and a high of 73. Sunday is looking beautiful with shifting clouds and sun reaching a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Yeah, so colleges want the SAT back all of a sudden. I thought it was racist. 6 years ago, the University of California led the movement to drop standardized tests as an admissions requirement in the name of, say it with me, equity. Now more than 750 professors in STEM disciplines across the University of California university system, now say they need the test back. We now observe preparation gap so severe that instructors must reteach middle school mathematics while simultaneously teaching the material students need for sciences, engineering, economics, and other quantitatively demanding fields. Wow, that is a real stunner. Huh. The current admissions metric, based primarily on GPA and essays, can no longer reliably distinguish readiness for university-level STEM majors in an era of severe grade inflation and AI-assisted application essays. Bring the SAT back. Yale's doing the same thing, I saw. We need some way to measure whether a student will be prepared for the challenges of this particular institution before we provide admission, regardless of their race. Wow. How about that? 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. Call and text line. Preparation gap so severe that instructors must reteach middle school mathematics. God, I mean, could anybody have predicted that if you don't care about aptitude, you just care about identity, that you're going to put people in a position of failure? Feel great about it. Yeah. I mean, Thomas Sowell wrote a book about this practice when it was in its relative infancy, I don't know, 35 years ago. But, yeah, pay attention to that. We're out there changing the world. We're empowering marginalized communities and so on and so forth. Fighting the patriarchy, combating white supremacy. And of course, this is not the worst of the problems created by this identitarian push for quote-unquote equity, which, again, is an antonym of equality, not a synonym or a complement. The Board of Regents scrapped the university's SAT-ACT requirement in 2020 because they discriminate against minorities. So would they like to offer a mea culpa while they're offering this SOS? Gavin Newsom, oh yeah, he was governor at the time, called the SAT-ACT tests, called the impact of SAT-ACT test that they exacerbate the inequities for underrepresented students, even though a faculty report found otherwise. The new faculty letter: for 3 consecutive years, 20 to 30% of UC Berkeley's first semester calculus students who participated in mathematical diagnostic testing displayed severe preparation deficits. As the Wall Street Journal commented, drop standards and learning mastery declines. Imagine that. This is a stunner. And so much like the untethered admissions, untethered to the decision-making by those now offering these admissions or these calls for course correction. They have disassociate themselves from the decisions that they made that put them here where they're saying we need to reverse course. And you can't let them do that. They have to be held up and pilloried. Interesting discussion, by the way, on the grade inflation piece of this that they cite. Yale law professor Sarath Sangha did an interview with Jonathan Kay over at Quillette about grade inflation. It was interesting take he had. The obvious negative impact of grade inflation is you're not separating people who are doing A-level work from people who are doing C-level work. not making distinctions between the quality of the product. Sort of like turning a blind eye to aptitude when it comes to admissions. But one of the consequences of the choice that these elite, in scare quotes, universities made, and so many followed suit, of course, so if the elites are doing it, we have to keep up. But one of the consequences is a bit counterintuitive.
The median mark at Yale is now an A.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Well, define crazy.
Unless they change things, A is the first letter, right? So,
True.
Okay, so it's like, this is a down market analogy, but, if you're going bowling and, the median frame is a strike, that doesn't make sense unless you're an amazing bowler.
What's going on is a question you can ask. It's a very strong and sharp upward trajectory. This is what is meant by inflation. And really more interesting than inflation is the compression, that there's more and more of the top grades being given. So that's one thing. That means that it effectively means that the top, in this case, 50% or more, aren't differentiated. But you ask yourself, is it possible to do better than an A as currently given in a freshman English seminar at Yale? Is there no higher achievement than that? I mean, of course there is, right? So the idea that it can't get any better is already, okay, that's one thing. The other thing is comparability, because there are some departments, and I know Yale's example well, but, other schools that have these dynamics have a similar phenomenon whereby one department might award 50% of its students, or 50% of its grades would be in the A range. And then, you walk across the street and that department is giving essentially 100%. There are some programs and departments that offer where every class is 100% A or A minus. But then you scratch your head and you're like, well, are they just getting better students, or are they using different standards? It's almost surely the latter, that an A in one class does not mean the A in another. And yet the university is treating it as if it is, because they're all getting reduced to 4.0 in the GPA scale and kind of mixed together. So somewhere in this, I think the only reasonable way to describe the current situation is just as incoherent. There is tremendous pressure to inflate. And by pressure to inflate, I mean faculty express pressure to give grades higher than what they think the students deserve.
And the result?
There's pressure to do this. So from the faculty's or instructional faculty, especially non-tenure faculty's point of view, they feel tremendous pressure to do that. Otherwise, they get bad evaluations. They might, their renewal, it might be in jeopardy. So I think that fact alone, I mean, separate from are we actually evaluating our students in a coherent way? That kind of pressure, which is real and profound, I think is enough to make us think, look, maybe we should stop for a minute and try to design a system. The current system is just not designed is the problem. The anxiety of a B+, I wouldn't underestimate it. It is profound, right? Students are, excuse the French, working their asses off to make sure that they get that A. And then having worked their ass off, still are not able to distinguish themselves in any way. And so then they'll search for other avenues of distinction, whether it's student clubs.
So you're saying there's almost more anxiety with grade inflation than there would be?
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
So I just wrote an op-ed about this with an economist at Princeton, Owen Zadar, and we put it in the Princeton student newspaper for this very reason. The title of the op-ed was "Grade Inflation is Making You Miserable." What we're trying to do is not just for its own contrarian sake, but I think because it's true, invert the usual argument that, we inflate grades in order to support students' mental health because they're too delicate to get a B or a B minus. I think that whole thing just inverts the reality of it. The runaway inflation creates increasing compression over time. And so over time, you get a B+ in one of the core classes of your major, that might literally rule out grad school.
You're saying people aren't stupid. They know what a B+ means in 2026.
They know what it means.
Yeah. The B+ is the new D, because the median, the jarring thing at the outset, the median grade at Yale is an A, the median. Well, I mean, there's so many good points made in there too. You know, an A in biochemistry is not the same thing as an A in some, fluffy humanities course. No, clearly, but the whole thing is fraudulent, right? The professors, the faculty feel pressure to go along with the great inflation because of the expectations of the customers, the students, and because of this, and particularly the competition in these status schools. And so both sides are perpetuating this fraud. The problem is employers know it. And so, I mean, then you connect to stories like this one from a state-run media in Chicago, WBEZ. The job market is brutal. Here's how recent Chicago college grads are navigating it. And it's three young people that are floundering and as they look for jobs. One is Loyola, one is Northwestern, one is U of C. And it's not worth going through that. I mean, I would tell them to, move to Tulsa or Birmingham, where the cost of living is low and opportunities abound, and they're trying to attract talent. But the question is, despite coming from a status school, do you have the talent necessary? Because when I'm looking at hiring people in a business that is not subsidized by the government, my business, which is not subsidized by the government, I'm looking at, skill sets and qualities that are related to my bottom line. And that's where the rubber meets the road. So now I have to pay for the fraud that I helped to pay for by force to prop up for these kids to go to these status schools or state schools, which are, engaged in the same practice, to varying degrees. The median grade at Yale is an A. I mean, but and the great thing, as Professor Sanga points out, is we're doing this in the interest of equity. We're bringing people along. We're catering to their sensitivities. We don't want to break them as they're finding their way in this rough and tumble world. And you do just the opposite. They're not prepared for the coursework there. They're not prepared for the life afterwards, and they're riddled with anxiety over all of it. Chris and Carrie are on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. What great timing this segment is. We are experiencing this very thing right now. Our daughter just finished her junior year here in Cary, and she took the SAT, and her math scores were unbelievably low on the SAT, but she's an A-plus student math along the whole way, and so shame on us as parents. We had no idea. We just assumed that the grades at A-plus, that she was doing well, she's up to par. But so we actually are going to have to enroll her at MCC, even as a senior in high school, for like the basic math.
To catch her up.
It's almost like starting all over. Yeah. I mean, it's like almost 8th grade level math that she's got to catch up on. It's shameful that these teachers have been giving her a pass this entire time. If we had known, if grades reflected her true standing, we would have been getting her help the entire time.
Intervene sooner.
It's
yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you got it now and you're doing something about it. Thanks for the call, Chris. But that's the point. The whole system is a fraud. It really is. That's why the valedictorian of Barrington High School can only get a job as the mayor of Boston, even though she's got a Harvard degree after that. Where else is Michelle Wu going to work in this world? Unless she's very good with AI or something like that, and maybe Silicon Valley would hire her. Who would want to tolerate her? So I say, there's a lot of things that you're measuring, particularly in the age of social media, where we can look at your character development over time and your narcissism based on the things that you posted to provide your public-facing, to form your public-facing identity, and see if the two match up, your public-facing one and your actual one. All kinds of ways. I've been saying this for years. We've been talking about it. That WirePoint pulls all the data together. The schools, I'll now talk about high schools, because the fraud doesn't start in college, obviously. It's just extended because of the fraud that's perpetrated at the K through 12 level. We've been talking about math and reading proficiency scores. Well, you can't pay attention to those NAEP tests. They're racist. Well, you know what we need to do? Eliminate the tests. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're going to find out one day, one way or the other, whether you want to or not, as unfortunately Chris and Carrie did. Great suburban schools. I'm willing to pay $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 to spend per kid. I'm willing to have my home liquidated out from underneath me. For what? The status of going to New Trier or Barrington or Naperville North? And then you scratch below the surface, and what do you find? Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. The STEM education is important to me because I've been involved in it in like 35 years. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be doing an event downtown. With regards to what took place about 50 years ago, my alma mater in the wanting DEI stuff and bringing in low-income students didn't take a close look at SAT scores and admitted these low-income students, only to find out after one semester they flunked out because they couldn't do the math.
You're not, thanks for the call, but you're not doing anybody any favors. And particularly the people that you think you're doing a favor for by giving them a pass on the threshold that has to be met. You're hurting the people that you think you're helping because, which is the story of sentimentality. Look at me uplifting a minority kid. So he gets to Berkeley and he has aptitude, and I'm not just saying that just minorities across the board, but this was the focus. This was the impetus for all this. So he gets to Berkeley and he can do middle school math, and Berkeley has to do something with him, either bounce him or try and get him up to speed. And it's better to try and get up to speed when he's a freshman at Berkeley, as opposed to if you had been getting him up to speed and doing whatever was necessary, including holding him back in the primary grades. I mean, what kind of sense does any of this make? It's obvious. We're all blinded. We're all the left, blinded by their sentimentality, blinds others and cowers others. You don't care the way I care. No, in fact, I do. You don't care. I'm on that kid's side. You're not. And this is why, the tough talk from like our friend Heather McDonald has been brilliant on this topic for so many years. It's tough to hear, but you have to hear it because it reflects the reality, and now the left is having to admit it. University of California university system, please bring back the SAT. That'd be like Tony Fauci coming out today and saying, all those mandates were really stupid.
Anybody who has a straight white male son or grandson has either discovered this or will discover it, that straight white male is going to be the last admitted to selective colleges, to selective graduate schools, to professional schools, and to law firms, government, science positions, you name it. And students experience this daily. I was at an event last night, and a very left-wing mother had to admit that although her son had very good MCAT scores, he was right in deciding that he would never be admitted to medical school, and so he went to Palantir instead. Now, that's hardly the end of the world, but nevertheless, we have lost potentially a groundbreaking medical scientist, and this is happening all over. And what's going on is the medical schools have had completely different tracks of admission. MCAT scores and grade point averages. MCATs are the medical college admissions tests. They're the standardized, colorblind, neutral, objective tests of the types of skills that you need to succeed in medical school. They're the medical counterparts of the SATs. in many places, if the MCAT scores and grade point averages in college that would be automatically disqualifying if presented by a white or Asian applicant to medical school are an automatic admit if presented by a black or Hispanic student. So you've got almost non-overlapping bell curves of who's getting admitted to medical school. And so what happens is, and this is true for any institution that practices racial preferences.
Yeah, and most of them still do, even though they've had to go subterranean in the era of Trump. For example, legalinsurrection.com reporting, University of Illinois Medical School, University of Illinois College of Medicine, promoting a webpage that encourages professors to adopt equitable assessments and grading practices. Equitable assessments and grading practices emphasize the process of learning versus performance outcomes and the attainment of grades. So we're elevating people who are not going to be able to do the work, not on the level that's expected, not at a level of expertise that is connoted by the credential of a status school. And then we're driving people out of the profession who could do the work because we're making decisions based on race and feelings rather than on competency and aptitude. And I know we've been beating this drum. Well, I've been beating this drum ever since I've been on the air, or before then, more quietly, I guess. But now that we're getting admissions from the other side, let's run with it. Kind of important, particularly when you start getting into who's performing the surgeries, who's writing the prescriptions, who's diagnosing the illnesses, who's teaching your high school kids math. Check the headlines with Mike Scott.
6:32 in Chicago, 51 degrees in the QC Kinetics newsroom, and a warmer day ahead with an afternoon high of 85. The White House says that the U.S. and Iran have agreed in principle on a deal to extend the ceasefire for 60 days. President Trump has not signed off on it yet. Iran says the text of the memorandum has not been finalized. An explosion of Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket could delay NASA's plans to explore the moon.
Just days ago, NASA chose New Glenn rockets over SpaceX to deliver rovers and other cargo to the moon starting this fall.
NASA has selected Blue Origin.
Soon after Thursday night's explosion, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman posted that they were still analyzing potential impacts to mission timelines for the lunar base and for next year's Artemis 3. In 2016, a SpaceX rocket exploded on their pad during a similar test, and it took 15 months to repair the damage. I'm Rory O'Neill.
An investigation is underway following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's west side. One person died following the incident yesterday in the 3700 block of West Lexington. At the height of state budget negotiations in Springfield, Republican lawmakers now say Democrats have again pulled their seat from the table. State Senator Don DeWitt warns that the new 3,000-page version of the budget isn't close to resembling what will come out on the other end, the final product.
In many ways, I would say the budget process is rolling out similarly to previous years.
One thing that is likely to be included in the final budget, a digital advertising tax.
It's going to get passed down to small businesses that rely on advertising to reach customers to grow their business base.
Senator Sally Turner of Lincoln. A man died Thursday evening after setting a fire inside a Southwest Side home.
So a typical fire would start with maybe 25 to 50 personnel on the scene to ensure its safety. Here, that escalated quickly. We had, I'd say, over 200 members at one point on the scene, all working to get it under control and get it accounted for the residents and everybody in the building.
Chicago police and fire say a 56-year-old Gage Park man started that fire while inside the home, causing the blaze and two separate buildings to also catch fire. Chicago sports, White Sox beat the Twins 6-2, while the Cubs handled the Pirates 7-2. The news, a service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville. Easy to get off I-88. Foxvalleycoins.com. in Naperville. We'll have a check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
Everywhere you turn, it's plus, plus, plus. But at Hassellus Mattress, nobody has more plus than us. Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $293. Plus, through Monday, get a free adjustable base. Plus, a huge selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and other big-name brands. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup. Plus, employee-free showrooms. Whew! All these pluses have me feeling nonplussed. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-573-4400. That's 800-573-4400. Again, that's 800-573-4400.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
6:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. I-65 Northwest Indiana, you have a rollover semi on the northbound off-ramp to 8094. Also involves a diesel fuel spill, and that could be a big problem. We'll keep our eyes on it. I-80 disabled vehicle left lane blocked as you're traveling westbound near the Des Plaines River Bridge. Reagan I-88 jamming up eastbound between Cermak 22nd and the Tri-State Tollway. Traffic a service of Aleve. At some point, body pain may creep in and become your reality that day, but Aleve is here to keep you moving. Don't let pain hold you back. Try Aleve today. Use as directed. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast. In the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center, a warmer day ahead. Plenty of sunshine and a high of 85.
Get The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
And that's another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Yeah, gather around. This latest installment. I was just surprised yesterday of a rule that women use that I was unaware of when it comes to dating. Ironically entitled, in a sense, the 666 rule. Have people heard about this? This came up post-golf yesterday. And so I had to do some researching, which I don't really like to do. I like these segments, as you know, if you've listened to them, I like to just complain. But I did a little researching, so I found this story that's not that old, it's just a couple years old, women are using the 666 dating rule to find the perfect man, but is it hurting their chance at love? The 666 rule, as it's told, means you're 6 feet tall, you have six-pack abs, and you make over six figures. Is that even enough now? 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call in and text line. Is that a real thing? Or is that just one of these sort of, internet invented things that gets bandied about, but nobody really uses in practice? Because even in this story, the 6'6" rule, again, 6 feet tall, have six-pack abs, make over six figures. I mean, six-pack abs, that would be a stretch. I'm working on it, though, with Pilates. But also that if that was the way that somebody was analyzing, I mean, like if that is something that is ubiquitous in the mind of the distaff side, then that's another reason why Dan Proft is single. But I don't want to project that onto women if that's not really a thing. I think it ends up sort of being a thing, and they just combined it. You want a guy that's tall or taller, on the tallish side, I guess, above median height, in decent shape, makes good money, has a job. I mean, I guess maybe this is sort of a handle that just speaks to reasonable expectations. I try to be considerate of the female perspective here because I'm magnanimous that way. But even in this story, talking about this 666 rule, a survey from dating app Flirtini, jeez, who comes up with this stuff, found 80% of women are open to lowering their standards in order to meet a mate. Perfect, because that's where I'm at the lowered standard level. So maybe this is just, a idyllic box checking, but it doesn't really represent. There's other contextual factors, contributing assets that could move those numbers around a little bit, see if it works out. Especially because, we should get an opinion of a dating expert. And how do you know a person's a dating expert? They present themselves as one. Dating expert Amber Soletti told the New York Post, I've met tons of singles through my dating events, both men and women, who have crazy expectations for their partner, and I feel sad for a lot of them who are clearly feeling lonely and are going to remain single forever. Don't feel sad for me, Amber Soletti, dating expert. Instead of having standards, high standards, what she recommends is having deal breakers. But they should be focused on deeper topics like political views or views on children and raising children. Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with that. I guess I'm a dating expert now, too. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call in and text line. You got to compromise on some of your criteria, some of your idyllic criteria, according to according to the obvious, basically. Tom in Oswego, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I think more women should be looking for a 540 and close to 6, and that's over 5 feet, about a 40-inch waist, and close to 6 figures, sometimes under, sometimes over. I think that's about the ideal guy.
That's a little bit of expectation inflation. The median is you're lowering the median. It's sort of like an A at Yale. Text 815. 666 rule. Men can have the 3 S's: sex, sandwich, and solitude. Yeah. I wouldn't lead with that, 815. But, I was going to say I'm not a dating expert, but apparently I'm at least as good as Amber Soletti, who is a noted dating expert because she noted it. And also, too, we talk about this a lot because men with money. This story from Yahoo Lifestyle, I read it so you don't have to. This is on the flip side, though. He's dating a millionaire businesswoman, but says the experience is not what people think. She still expects me to pay for dinner and dates. I mean, He earns 6 figures, so he does 1/6. But he's dating a woman who owns a construction business and brings in more than 500,000 Canadian dollars a year. Canadian dollars? What's that? No, it's about $360,000 a year. Okay, but you're making 6. I mean, it's not that the disparity's not that great. But anyway, he said, "I'm dating a woman out of my league. It sounds amazing until you actually live it. I honestly don't make much, and $100K is middle class now." Well, that's why I was thinking too. The 666 may be a little antiquated. My sense, from what I see out in the professional milieus, is that the number's a lot higher than that. But anyway, I digress. He said his girlfriend's lifestyle, the construction firm owner, reflects her much higher income. Frequent discussions of fancy dinners, luxury shopping trips, multiple vacations, and so on and so forth. She always wants to go to expensive ass dates. Maybe it's the way you talk. She'll casually drop that she wants to go to expensive steakhouses every weekend. I'm going broke, try to take her on dates 24/7. On the other hand, am I going to meet a girl this rich ever again? I'm torn. Well, what do you say to torn in Canada? He's got to pay up front for the cash out if he marries her, but is there really going to be a cash out? And then you have to worry about the old saw that if you marry for money, you earn every penny. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I can't read that. Several women said they out-earn their husbands and boyfriends, shared stories about paying for vacations, expensive dinners, luxury experiences. I think the only thing I would say about that is you can't like live off. I could never imagine. I don't care about somebody else's money, but you can't live off somebody else's. If you're a dude, you can't live off somebody else's a woman's money. You got to do something. Even if she's in a more lucrative position, or she's a successful tech entrepreneur, whatever she is, construction firm owner, but you can't live off her money. You have to go do something. You can't just hang around the house playing video games. Tom in Rolling Meadows.
Yes, I'm calling about that 666 rule.
Yeah.
That's not how the way I heard it. It was 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, and 6 is swinging.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And I'm not going to ask you if you meet all those criteria. Thanks for the call, Tom. I did hear that version as well. I'm giving you the PG version as was reported in the Post back in the day. But 666, yeah, I have heard that version too. but, it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. I don't know if I really want to get into that conversation. Bonnie in Des Plaines.
Hello. So if the fixed rule, only 80% of women are willing to lower the standards, that means I really don't have that rule. It is ridiculous.
Yes. So you think the 666 rule, regardless of the 1-6 being in question, you think that is not something that women walk around thinking? Yeah.
That's too shocking. No, not at all. That's ridiculous.
All right. Well, that's encouraging, especially for Tom in Oswego, who's got the 640, sometimes 6, sometimes 5 rule. It is rather Dickensian, that 666, which, connotes something else. Tom in Blue Island.
Relationship expert Tom in Blue Island.
Oh, okay. All right, very good.
Expert at ruining relationships. I've had a couple of girlfriends, and one of them ended up being my ex-wife. Where all I can describe is, when it comes to finances, what's hers is hers, and what's yours is ours. So and one of these girls was an assistant district attorney at Cook County, and she was actually wonderful. But
well, they don't make real money.
I know, Dan, but my point is, the ex-wife she was in school at the time, and she was a pharmacist. She was studying to be a pharmacist. But the bigger point is, if you're in a relationship with someone that isn't willing to share everything, and that includes money, it's a dead deal. I mean, I remember when I was still in the roofers union, and we wouldn't be working in the winter, and my ex-wife would actually have to fork out a couple of dollars in cash to pay for a pizza. I swear, Dan, the pizza wasn't even worth eating. You would have thought she gave you a kidney. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks for the call, Tom. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I hear you. Dave in St. John.
Hey, Dan, how's it going this morning?
Good.
All right, so about 40 years ago, when my wife and I were dating, she had a 10-point requirement list that was given to her by her aunt.
Oh boy.
Fortunately, I met all of them except for one, and the one I didn't meet was that I was not financially secure.
Really?
But yes. However, I mean, I had to borrow money from her when we went on dates, but it still all worked out because we've been married for, 36 years. So
there you go. Your winning personality, your charm and savoir-faire won her over. The money didn't matter.
Yeah, it might have been part of it. Some of the things on the list, though, were, you had to be a church-going Christian, be saved, things like that. The important things in life.
It would have been interesting to ask her aunt. So, like, let's say if I make $500,000, do I still have to go to church? One of those. Like, is it a bit of a sliding scale? If I'm really good at one, can I be less? Is there some give on the others? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting. Although I will say, her aunt did say that the one I did not meet was the lowest requirement on the list.
There you go.
I had that going for me.
All right, very good. Well, there you go.
And I've never made 6 figures. So,
and you've got a happy life and 40 years of marriage under your belt. So there you go.
And 3 God-loving children. So
very
absolutely.
Good.
Thanks, Dan.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Maybe he made up for it in other categories of the 6-6. Kathleen Donahue is tired of cooking. Like many people raising kids with a spouse, she'd face the same question every night. What's for dinner? The Seattle mom, they're in Seattle, oh boy. The Seattle mom of 2, who recently finished her first novel, eventually realized she no longer wanted to be responsible for the what's for dinner question. She hadn't planned to be the primary cook in her marriage, telling Yahoo, quote, I was a women's studies major in college, unquote. Oh, God. But her husband worked outside the house for 13 hours a day while she worked from home, so dinner mainly defaulted to her. So she threw herself into it for a while until they got what is known as a food divorce. I love the handles they come up with to, pathologize these events, disagreements within a marriage, changes in arrangement. She stopped cooking during the week. I broke up with cooking. Instead of making dishes from scratch, she relies on Trader Joe's frozen meals and assembles simple dinners for her family. It's okay for me to just open the fridge at 5 o'clock. I'll find something my kids will eat. It can be a grilled cheese, and that's okay. She still cooks occasionally, but it's on her own terms. She's a women's studies major. On weekends, her family hosts a casual Sunday supper, inviting other families over for low-stress dinners where they can serve themselves like pasta or a baked potato bar. And it's working, I guess. Her family has found more joy, more time together outside the kitchen. And if that requires just throwing a heated up quesadilla in front of them to generate that joy and more family time, then okay. Somehow dinner not being about food is what my family at this season of our life really needs. All's well that ends well. However you do it. But the whole sort of intellectualizing this, so in a way only a women's studies major would do, food divorce. Nicholas in Chicago.
Hey, Dan, I just wanted to tell your listeners that I was there. I was married to a rich woman, and I got to tell you, I would never, ever do it again.
Why? So you were her servant? Why? What happened?
Yeah. Basically, well, I'd use another word, but I wouldn't say servant. Yeah, it's just, I mean, honestly, they feel like they can talk to you any way they want. I don't need anything from you. I have my own money. Exactly. And it's not like she helped me out a couple of times, but it's not like I ever took advantage or, wanted, asked her for stuff that I didn't need. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
She clearly made more money than I did. I work 2 full-time jobs. I'm a nurse and I have another job. So, okay. I mean, you're not rich in those careers. You know what I'm saying? But, I, ended up getting divorced and marrying my niece's nanny from Colombia. And let me tell you, never been happier in my life.
Very good. All right. Another all's well that ends well story. Thanks, Nicholas. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, now we'll get to that possible MOU with the Iranians. Retired Brigadier General John T. Kurt joins us to discuss at 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
It's still not a done deal. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A plan that President Trump has not signed off on yet to extend the Iran ceasefire for 60 days. Vice President Vance tells reporters Iran wants a deal.
And they want to open the Straits of Hormuz. We want them to open the Straits of Hormuz. There are a couple of issues on the nuclear
stuff, the highly enriched stockpile, and also the question of enrichment.
Fox's Jeff Paul reports from Dubai.
This feels like this is the closest we have been to seeing the U.S. and Iran agree to a deal since the start of the war. But in another sense, we've sort of been here before where a deal feels imminent and then nothing happens. And complicating matters this time, this recent back and forth between the U.S. and Iran.
Referencing U.S. military shooting down Iran drones that targeted a commercial ship and attacking boats laying mines in Iran, targeting a U.S. base in Kuwait. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is warning that Russia is preparing another major attack. Hours after a Russian drone fired at Ukraine crossed into Romania, hitting an apartment building, causing a fire that left 2 people injured. Romania, in response, is asking NATO for more anti-drone weaponry. A massive fireball lit up Cape Canaveral in Florida last night.
The Blue Origin rocket exploding during a test of its engines. A static fire engine test is when the rocket's engines are ignited and they run at full thrust, but the vehicle is unable to go anywhere during the test. The rocket was uncrewed, and thankfully no one on the ground nearby was hurt.
That's Fox's Marianne Rafferty. Blue Origin CEO Jeff Bezos says they don't know yet what went wrong, but will rebuild. A California 8th grader, W-O-N, the Scripps National Spelling Bee.
Chikungunya.
CHIKUNGUNYA.
Bromocriptine.
BROMOCRIPTINE.
Kashaw.
CUSHAW.
14-year-old Shrey Parikh correctly spelled 32 words in 90 seconds in a final round spell-off, 7 more than the runner-up. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine and 52 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. There is breaking news and developments we're following, especially if you're traveling the Dan Ryan Expressway or about to this morning. Inbound Dan Ryan Expressway's locals lanes are closed, shut down right now due to police activity. It's all part of an investigation into a shooting that occurred around 4 a.m., bullets were found in a car. No injuries are reported, but police are canvassing the roadway right now, and traffic is forced into the express lanes for that police canvass. So locals are blocked. You can get by in the express, but it is very busy as that police investigation continues. There is an investigation underway as well following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's west side, where one person died following the incident yesterday in the 3700 block of West Lexington. Authorities have not released details of what led up to that shooting. Illinois lawmakers would now have the power to regulate auto insurance rates under legislation headed to the governor's desk. The Illinois House passed Senate Bill 714 Wednesday night. State Representative Thaddeus Jones believes the bill would bring consumer protection and some affordability to residents.
We want to make sure that the auto industry comes into compliance with the Department of Insurance. We want to make sure that rate review happens.
State Representative Jeff Kiker, though, says the bill is simply political posturing and points out laws are already on the books that give the Secretary of State, in this case Alexi Giannoulias, the power to lower rates himself by applying license renewal tests to people who've had tickets or accidents.
The Secretary of State has this within his power, yet he wants this as a quill in his hat so that he can run for another office.
Giannoulias is rumored to be considering a run for mayor of the city of Chicago. Chicago sports, White Sox 6-2 winners over the Twins. Cubs beat the Pirates 7-2. The Bears continue OTAs at Hallis Hall. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device. Download the app, 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt sees some red flags.
The framework includes, point one, the U.S. and Iranian naval blockade will be gradually lifted during the detailed negotiation period. Red light, detailed negotiation period. You don't need a detailed negotiation period. They need to stop firing at ships and let everybody out, and our blockade's got to continue.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
Have you been watching gold and silver lately? Hard to ignore. Back in January of 2025, silver was under $30 an ounce, and now it's more than doubled. Again, not bad, right? Some experts say this bull market is just getting started. Others say it's a good time to take some money off the table. Either way, whether you're buying or selling, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is the place to go. They stock large quantities of all the major bullion coins and bars. And here's what sets them apart. Unlike places that only pay melt value, Fox Valley Coins pays more for high-grade coins and scarcer dates. That's real money left in your pocket. They also buy scrap sterling flatware, jewelry, silver-plated items, and old proof sets. And they specialize in U.S. and foreign collector and investment coins and currency, both buying and selling. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at Ferry Road in Naperville. Family owned with integrity since 1981.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
A revolution in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence obsolete. 3 companies are quietly building a $1 trillion triangle to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Investment guru George Gilder has his finger on the 3 companies whose technology could change tech forever. Log on to $1,000,000,triangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. $1,000,000,triangle.com. That's $1,000,000,triangle.com.
7:08. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Salem Surround. High-performing digital solutions. Surround your target audience at surroundchicago.com today. I-65 Northwest Indiana. The northbound off-ramp to 8094 is right now tied up with an overturned semi and a diesel fuel spill. Very slow there. Reagan Memorial, I-88, an accident, right lane blocked eastbound between Route 53 all the way to Finley. And again, we told you about the Dan Ryan. Locals jammed up between Garfield and 51st due to a police canvass after a much earlier shooting. They're getting set to reopen those lanes. Could be open any time now as you come inbound on the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with plenty of sunshine, reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect a crystal clear sky with a low of 58. Tomorrow will be breezy, not as warm, with high thin cloudiness and a high of 73. Sunday is set to be beautiful with shifting clouds and sun, reaching a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So we went from Threats of finishing the job and even blowing up Oman at President Trump's cabinet meeting on Wednesday, to a Iranian drone strike in Kuwait yesterday. Trey Yingst reporting, Fox News.
A significant development overnight after Iran launched drones toward a commercial vessel attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. A U.S. official tells Fox News that 4 one-way attack drones posed a threat and were shot down. Then a strike was also conducted against a control station near the city of Bandar Abbas that was about to launch a 5th drone. In response, the Iranians launched a drone and missile attack against Kuwait, targeting a U.S. base there, according to Iran's IRGC. Now, the Kuwaitis confirmed an attack on their territory that did trigger sirens. The exchange of fire comes amid efforts to reach a deal between the United States and Iran.
And then a few hours later, you have this reported possible memorandum of understanding that we're waiting to see what Trump does with it. 60-day ceasefire agreement, unrestricted Strait of Hormuz shipping, no tolls. Iran removes the mines in the strait within 30 days. Assuming they know where they all are, which is one of the questions that we've had for a while. And do we know where they all are? Are we just going to trust them? And if we know where they all are, how are we doing in removing them? Because I thought that was part of the operation that was ongoing as well. Questions bound. That's number 3. Number 4, U.S. naval blockade lifted with conditions. And number 5, Iran pledges no nuclear weapons. Well, and of course, there'll be a lot of details to that, including arrangements for obtaining the enriched uranium. That's a framework. The president may be feeling more pressure on particularly getting the strait open, though, even though he's, of course, projecting that he is not concerned about the midterms and not concerned about these pedestrian economic matters, because oil prices will drop significantly as soon as this matter is properly concluded. And the important point, not just for the short term, but for the long term, is that this matter is properly concluded. But some oil CEOs are expressing some real concern about circulation of crude in the global market. For example, Mike Wirth, the CEO of Chevron, warned oil prices are likely to rise over the next 2 months as already near record low crude inventories continue to decline. He said at a conference, quote, "The buffers and the shock absorbers are steadily being drawn down, and the ability for the market to absorb this imbalance is drastically diminished today versus where we started. Over the next few weeks, we're likely to see those pressures flow through more directly to physical prices, and there's more upwards pressure that I would expect as we get into June and certainly into July." So supplies down, demand up means prices spike is essentially the translation. Another oil exec said it will take at least 4 months to get back to 80% of pre-conflict flows, and full flows will not return before the first or even second quarter of 2027. And Exxon Senior VP Neil Chapman took it one step further, saying commercial inventories of crude oil, of liquids, commercial inventories of crude oil, of liquids, think petroleum, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, they've all run down. And running down those inventories has mitigated or offset, supplemented by the release of strategic petroleum reserves, which most of the Western countries have done. All that has mitigated the impact. You can model this. We modeled it. I think a lot of people in the industry have modeled it. We are approaching unheard of inventory levels. I mean, really, really low levels. You can debate whether that's going to hit these really low levels in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Once you get to that point, then you'll see price shoot up. A model would say dated Brent will shoot up. Once you get to that really low inventory level, up to $150 or $160 a barrel, dated Brent. The models would tell you that. And then what happens is when the price gets to a certain level, demand destruction brings it back into balance. Prices go so high, it becomes unaffordable, and that's what happens. And so we're at that level now. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that has to be factored into the calculus, but there are a lot of variables. And I don't know if that is motivating some sort of established framework that buys more time, but gets the Strait open right now as they work out those other details. I don't know why this is the only way to get the Strait open based on many of the military experts we've talked to. If we wanted to open it, we could, but President Trump seems particularly resistant to using force to do so. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by retired Brigadier General John Teichert, foreign affairs and military strategy expert who served as commander of Joint Base Andrews and Edwards Air Force Base, senior U.S. defense official to Iraq, and Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force for International Affairs. General Teichert, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Ian, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So the framework, this potential MOU that the president may or may not sign on to, what's your assessment of that framework?
Dan, I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm skeptical. But I do know the president has to be weighing two primary factors here. Number one, Iran is notorious for acting and negotiating in bad faith. In fact, we're 7 weeks into a 2-week ceasefire, and the only precondition to the ceasefire from 7 weeks ago was that they would open the Strait of Hormuz, no strings attached, and we never saw that come to fruition. So number one, the president has to understand that Iran is not a trusted actor. Number two, people talk about how the devil is in the details, but I say purgatory is in the phasing. And where we went massively wrong with the Obama deal is that Iran got the benefits of the deal before they had to demonstrate the commitment to the deal and hold up their end of the bargain. And we have to structure any deal that may come to fruition in a way where Iran demonstrates commitment before they get any benefits to the deal. And I really hope the president is wisely considering those two primary factors before he puts his signature to paper.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, I mean, this sort of the implication is that the specific performance will be with the Iranians first, that the Strait is opened and there are no tolls and there's no piracy. And so let's see that. And then we talk about enriched uranium and the nuclear program and the rest of it.
I think that's right. And I do get added concern with just the activity that you described from the Iranians this week with respect to drones, mine laying, missiles, and emplacing of those missiles. And I think that's Iran testing how eager we are to make a deal. And I think we are falling over ourselves, indicating that we want to make a deal without returning to military activity. And that puts them in a stronger position.
Yeah, I'm a little perplexed. I mean, I understand the concern about putting our military men and women in harm's way, and that's not something that should never be taken lightly, and I'm sure is not being taken lightly by this president. But it just seems to me that there's a reason we have the military, and this is one of them, to affect our national security interests. And is it certainly worth considering that the best, fastest way to address the Strait issue is for us to get in there and address it ourselves?
Dan, I think that's reasonable. And I also think that we left something on the table during the first 6 weeks of the war, and that is that we gave them a sanctuary and didn't strike the targets that were most important to the regime. On day one of Air War College, we are always taught that the way you use air power strikes is to hit at the heart of what matters most to a regime. And while we struck a lot of operational and tactical targets, we didn't hit at those things that actually underlie or underpin the strength of the regime. And I think in addition to active kinetic activity that would forcibly open the Strait, that we should start striking at those type of targets the moment we see in the end game of this negotiation, Iran negotiate or act in bad faith yet again. Do we have any sense of where we are? I mean, I haven't heard from
Admiral Cooper on this recently, where we are with respect to the mines in the Strait. You know, one of the contingencies there in the MOU is to remove the mines from the Strait. But I thought that was underway. We were going to get some help from the UK, one of their mine sweepers. And you know, this was a laborious process. It's a lot easier said than done. I understand that, you know, conceptually. But is there any? I haven't seen any assessment of how we are with respect to that issue, and how long it would take for us again to do it ourselves or in conjunction with our allies.
We have capabilities, as do our allies, but the moment that Project Freedom stopped, that 2-day adventure that seemed to demonstrate some level of hope, and then we stopped abruptly, the moment that ended is the moment that we stopped actively trying to use our assets to demine the Strait. So we're basically at a standstill from where we were from the beginning of this conflict, and those mines are still there. And while we do have assets, it's a very laborious process to demine a waterway. And I think that we have been cooling our heels since we stopped Project Freedom, and it would take some time to get restarted and then to clear those mines.
I mean, do you have any sort of particular intuition about why you think the president is so seemingly averse to kinetic action, as the phrase is used? I mean, there's a lot of supposition, maybe too deferential to, or maybe too is a value judgment, but deferential to Gulf state allies, wants to keep the coalition together, that this is the path of least resistance, and for the short term, we've given up the idea of regime decapitation. It's just hard to reconcile the approach that's being taken and of the time period over which it's being taken, particularly when you start to hear pronouncements like you've heard from the oil companies that I mentioned.
So I think there are two factors that weigh into the president's mind. Number one, he is concerned that Iran will increase strikes on Gulf partners, especially their energy infrastructure. But I want to remind your listeners that 80 to 90% of Iran's strikes on the Gulf partners have already been on civilian infrastructure. So I actually think that's already played out. We've mitigated it appropriately. Number two, I think the president has in his mind, how can he most quickly decrease energy prices? But the problem is, this has now been dragging on far longer than anyone expected. And if we would have taken the stronger kinetic activity up front, there would have been a shorter term higher spike in prices, but it would have been done with once we finished the job. And I believe the president needs to finish the job.
Yeah, it's interesting. This from a guy, a fund manager, but who's got colleagues in the space, in the energy space. He posted on X, according to my colleagues, recent meetings in Dubai, UAE, for example, is building out is crude pipelines and will be able to completely avoid the Strait in 24 months for oil experts. Remember, nobody building the off-ramps has an incentive to advertise this, so the public narrative understates the real magnitude and timeline. So for the U.S., the details of any current deal matter less than people think. The U.S. doesn't need all of its ask granted in this deal. It just needs a deal that, one, reopens the Strait, and two, buys time, because you have the Gulf Coast states that are building capacity now that the Strait card has been played by the Iranians to build the logistics and capacity to avoid the Strait altogether, so that this is a card that is no longer in the Iranians' deck within the course of the next year to 2 years. Maybe that's something, too, that is under consideration, such that we need to make a show of force here. But if we get the Strait reopened and we buy time, then the Iranian regime in the medium term, if not the short term, is going to collapse anyway, because it has alienated its Gulf state allies. They're looking for other routes that don't involve the Iranians. They're going to have to look, the Iranian oil clients are going to have to look for other suppliers because of the industrial base destruction that's occurred and the the disalignment of other Gulf Coast Gulf state actors, and so again it goes back to we just get the Strait open and we buy time and we don't have to take the risk of military action in terms of casualties. We don't have to indulge the expense and the use of our weapons caches, and we let this play out over the next year or two, with the Gulf states essentially taking the lead on it.
Dan, I'm okay with some of that elongated timeline, but two factors have to be considered here. Number one, will Iran actually open up the strait, no strings attached? I'm skeptical, and I hope that in phase one of this agreement we see that happen, but I doubt that it actually will play out the way we hope. And then number two, none of that factors in what Iran could do in the next 2 years with its nuclear program. And I think that we decimated it back in June in Operation Midnight Hammer of last year, but I think 2 years is a long time to give them a sanctuary to reestablish that nuclear program. If we could genie blink 2 years from now and have that added capacity via pipelines away from the strait, and we found a way to destroy their nuclear program, that would be great. But it's contingent on Iran opening the strait now to get there and us doing something about their nuclear program.
He is retired Brigadier General John Teichert, foreign affairs and military strategy expert who served as commander of Joint Base Andrews and Edwards Air Force Base, also as a senior U.S. defense official in Iraq and assistant deputy undersecretary of the Air Force for International Affairs. General Teichert, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for having me.
And General Teichert joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Francis Scott Key wrote of a flag that refused to fall, a powerful reminder that freedom endures only when it's defended. Now, a new documentary explores President Trump's fight to protect America's constitutional republic. Sunday night on SNC. Hear from Hegseth, Rubio, Bondi, RFK Jr., Metaxas, Sekulow, and more. Plus, an inside look at the president's task force combating anti-Christian bias across the government. Watch the television premiere of By Dawn's Early Light, Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, on Salem News Channel.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, Robert Bork Jr. joins us to talk about the threat of conservative socialism, an oxymoron that he'll distill for us at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Sunshine in Chicago, 55 degrees in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The White House says the U.S. and Iran have agreed on a memorandum of understanding that would extend the ceasefire, but that President Trump has not yet signed off on it. Republican Congressman Buddy Carter is hoping for peace, but not a nuclear weapon in any deal.
We've got to make sure we finish the drill here. My hope, my expectation is the president, he will finish the drill, and he will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And he'll stop the leading state sponsor of terrorism for the last 47 years.
It comes as the U.S. and Iran previously traded strikes against each other earlier this week. 3 are dead, including a child. Several others are unaccounted for after an apartment building exploded in Dallas. Fire Rescue Deputy Chief Mark Berry.
As far as the injuries go, there are still the 3 that were transported to local hospitals. One of those transports is in critical condition but stable.
Firefighters were responding to a call of a gas leak. The apartment building in the Oak Cliff neighborhood was leveled. An investigation is underway following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's west side. One person died following the incident yesterday in the 3700 block of West Lexington. One man is dead after being pulled from Lake Michigan near Diversey Harbor. Police say Matthew McCullough was found unresponsive yesterday. He was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital, and that death is under investigation. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is joining attorneys general of Nebraska and Louisiana in a lawsuit blocking the federal government from reclassifying marijuana. The federal government wants to try and change marijuana from a Schedule I drug to Schedule III. Indiana is one of only 10 states that have not approved either medicinal or recreational marijuana use. Chicago sports, White Sox topped the Twins 6-2. Cubs rallied to beat the Pirates 7-2 and take on the Cardinals next. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. A check of the morning roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
60's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at LeavingIL.com.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
Amazon Business. With smart business buying, innovative AI tools optimize your purchasing experience paired with delivery options built for business. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
7:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stop and go traffic on the inbound Ike. You'll hit the brakes inbound right at Harlem Avenue. Stop and go on the Stevenson. Riding slow at Central Avenue. Bishop Ford stop and go inbound between Cottage Grove and the Dan Ryan. And delays on the Reagan I-88 eastbound right at 22nd. Traffic, a service of AutoZone. Get in the zone and start stronger with stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 85.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Do elements of so-called conservative socialism exist in the Trump administration, or are there illustrations, examples of this seemingly oxymoronic statement? Well, I think they are. I think there are. Is it conservatism? I mean, if you are engaged in socialist policy, I don't know how you can label it's conservatism. I mean, it's, but the point is to say self-identified conservatives acting the way that redistributionist central planners act. And I think there's a good case to make, and it really prompts the larger discussion that I keep pushing, which is when will conservatives, particularly in this populist America First era, reckon with questions, fundamental questions like, is this thing that the government does something that it should do at all? What should the government be in the business of doing, and what should it not? And for the things that are determined to be something the government shouldn't be doing, don't cut them by 10%. Don't phase them out over 5 years. Eliminate them wholesale. It's something that conservatives have often talked about doing and rarely done. Now, the flip side of it is to say, in some instances, like longtime bugaboos, certain federal agencies like Department of Education that have been talked about by conservatives in terms of elimination for many moons, through many presidential elections, which are the 8 cabinet level agencies you'll eliminate: Department of Energy, Department of Education, always on the list. Department of Commerce. But ironically, Trump has probably done more to diminish the Department of Education, reduce its size and scope, drop ship those resources to the state where they're better deployed, if they're going to exist at all, than previous presidents who were more closely aligned with sort of paleocon conservatism, like a Ronald Reagan. So it's an interesting topic of discussion, which is why we wanted to have it with Robert Bork Jr., who's wrote a new book about it. The New Paradox, Antitrust and the Threat of Conservative Socialism is the book. Robert Bork Jr. is the president of the Antitrust Education Project. Robert Bork Jr., thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here. It's always nice talking to you.
Yeah, great to have you again. And so, it's one of the things your father pointed out, and you've pointed out before, including in recent interviews, that, socialism doesn't come in the West in the form of a revolution. It comes slowly over time. It creeps, right? And in such a way as you see it rear its ugly head in regulatory, mainly regulatory or tax and regulatory policies that are redistributionist in nature, that have the government directing private enterprise. And there are instances where this has been the case in the Trump years, aren't there?
Oh my gosh, yes. I never would have expected it, or maybe that's my mistake. But you've seen since even from the first term of the Trump presidency, moves, particularly in antitrust, that look like what Lina Khan and the Biden antitrust enforcers were doing to restrain business and, I think, kneecap capitalism. But now they're doing things which they're taking it to the next level. I mean, my goodness, this administration owns a chunk of Intel.
Yeah.
This administration owns a chunk of NVIDIA. It has a piece of a couple of rare earth companies. It steers investment. It directs industrial policy. It manipulates competition. It rewards its allies. It punishes disfavored firms. I mean, and just most recently, it didn't happen, but came pretty close. They were going to get a 90% stake in Spirit Airline. That was their idea of bailing out Spirit. And thank goodness the people who held the debt of Spirit said, no, I think we'll just sell the airplanes, we'll just, we didn't need, I think, government airline, which all that stuff creates new sort of like moral hazards. Like, okay, so if we own an airline, does that mean that they don't get the same regulatory scrutiny that a regular airline, privately held airline does, because we own them and we're the government? So anyway, that's I could go on at length about that. But
let me jump in here and play devil's advocate. Well, Robert, the $10 billion stake in Intel, if the government sold it today, would be worth $40 billion or thereabouts. So it's a great ROI. Trump's a great businessman. What's the problem?
The problem is that the private sector is better at deciding, the private companies are better at deciding for themselves what they ought to be spending the investors' money in. They don't find themselves in this sort of moral morass of, when the phone rings and it's somebody from the government, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to do what they tell us to do?
Right.
And I would argue that I would argue that to a certain extent, when the government owns a big piece of something like that, it's going to make decisions based on what it thinks, the government thinks, is the right direction for a particular company. And we all know that the government is never wrong about making decisions about things. So
well, yeah. I mean, to me, it's right. It's even if you could make the case that Trump is a better CEO than Intel CEO, even say so he'll do a better job of directing the company's development or influencing it. He'll be a positive influence. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that government is a fearful servant and a dangerous master. And some conservatives have lost that perspective because they like the president, of the last, intermittently 2 terms. And so, but you set those precedents, and then somebody else comes right behind them that you don't care for as much, and does things like Mamdani is doing in New York City, where he comes up with some scheme that sounds wonderful and is really designed to seize private property and use it for his own purposes. So that's the problem with these sorts of policies and making exceptions for people you like. Without recognizing you're opening the door for people you don't.
Exactly. And, we the taxpayers are sitting here, and it has an effect on us. When markets become politicized, consumers pay for it. Regulatory complexity raises compliance costs. Industrial policy distorts investment. Politically driven antitrust enforcement, which I spend most of my time thinking about, creates uncertainty. Capital becomes less efficient, and innovation slows. It's not. This is not just funny money that we can just spend and invest and hope that and believe that everything is going to be okay.
Right, and it's complicated because this same week or at the same time, like this week. Trump and Lee Zeldin discussed, $2 billion worth of deregulation they did, environmental regulations on refrigerators and air conditioners and so forth that are from the Biden administration that they're rolling back to allow those companies that make those products to be more efficient and more competitive. And more successful ultimately. So it's uneven. You see, at least with Trump, it's uneven. You see deregulation on a number of fronts that is, but you just can't seem to get. We can't seem to resist the temptation to say, okay, we're going to undo these regulations, which are bad, and they're particularly bad because they were the last guys. But with the stuff I want to do in service of my political and economic interests. That are similar in approach are okay because they're mine.
Exactly. So, when I talk about conservative socialism, that's really what I'm trying to point out. And we conservatives have been for free markets and for free trade, and for capitalism, whereas the alternative we're talking about now is conservatives getting more into the progressive Democrat space, and for them to be working, really adopting many of the same policies. When Trump's antitrust people came in, they didn't reverse the Biden policy. They just said, that's good, we'll leave it the way it is. And they also brought, they continued his stupid antitrust cases that were wrong-headed and which they were losing. They continue to, anyway, I'm sorry.
Is it your view that there should be an antitrust division in the Department of Justice? Should there even be one? Should there be antitrust prosecutions?
Absolutely. I'm against bringing cases, because something is big and successful.
Right.
I'm all for it if there's economic evidence, which the Biden administration just ignored economics for 4 years, and this administration is ignoring it somewhat too. But yes, if there's price fixing going on, jump all over them. If there's market manipulation going on, jump all over them. If there's restraint of trade going on, jump all over it. But don't sort of gerrymander new markets so that you can say, this company has 100% of is a monopoly because it has 100% of this market that we made up. Just like in political redistricting, the government goes around inventing markets so that they can say, yes, Apple makes performance smartphones. There is no such market. They made up that market so that they could sue Apple,
Well, so then would there be exceptions to the philosophy when it comes to government spend, say, that have national security implications, talking about things like rare earths for microchips and those sorts of things, where America needs to be less reliant on its known enemies like the Chinese Communist Party?
Is your question, should we be paying more attention and spending money on rare earths or what? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Should we make an industrial policy exception when it comes to providing special treatment to chip makers or other associated industries that we're too reliant on, that our opinion, the view is we're too reliant on our enemies, right? Yeah. So quantum computing or other things. Should the government then, is that a exception to your opposition to industrial policy generally?
We've always had policies that encourage new developments like AI. Right now, the president is all over AI. And whatever concerns people have about it, I think, are being ignored. The data centers are being ignored. So my concern is that the government, basically, because of its size and power, just pushes all dissent out of the way and begins to take over that industry. And I think we really need to find private sector answers because it'll work better in the long run. The government can try to cajole and can issue grants or whatever the thing is. It can be involved in trying to make the regulatory burden less. But again, in specific cases, what you don't want to do is have the government running the big data companies or the chip companies.
So I mean, just another test case, just to see where the lines are in your view. TikTok and Skydance. What was your view on the way the Trump administration handled that?
Well, it was pretty obvious that the president wanted to protect TikTok because he felt it was instrumental in his getting reelected. And that may be true. But Congress passed a law saying we got to divest. They've got to divest their American subsidiary, their American operations, and by a certain date, and the president just ignored it. I don't think that's right. I don't know enough about the real threat of TikTok, but I assume it's real. I think the president should have done something, should have followed the law. In a way, it's sort of, I don't want to, maybe this is going too far, but, the way he handled that looks an awful lot like the way he's handling Iran right now. He doesn't want to go too far. He wants to protect his competitor a little bit because he's afraid of what would happen if he doesn't, politically speaking. So that may be a bridge too far, but it just has that flavor about it that there's some places he won't go, even if he's legally bound to do so.
Robert Bork Jr. is the president of the Antitrust Education Project. His new book, The New Paradox, Antitrust and the Threat of Conservative Socialism. Robert Bork Jr., thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always enjoy talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, don't forget, it's Open Mic Friday. We'll take your calls on anything and everything under the sun. But before we do that, at 8:08, we're going to be joined by Michael Golden to address the question whether or not journalists can help reduce the incidence of mass shootings. That's at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's still just a tentative deal. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It would extend the Iran ceasefire for 60 days. President Trump's yet to sign off on it and tells Laura Trump in an interview that'll air on her show on Fox tomorrow night.
That's what I do. I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards.
Fox's Medal and Rivera's at the White House.
The memo of understanding states shipping will be restored in the Strait of Hormuz without restrictions, and this includes Iran removing mines from the waterway within 30 days. The U.S. would also lift its blockade and some sanctions to allow Iran to sell oil. Iran would also commit to not pursuing a nuclear weapon. It's still unclear, though, what would happen to Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and that's one of the issues that will continue to be hashed out within this 60-day window.
There was a giant orange fireball in the night sky in Florida as Blue Origin was prepping for a rocket launch next week.
When they tried to do a static fire test at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida late Thursday, the rocket exploded. Sound courtesy of Spaceflight Now's YouTube page. It was a monstrous explosion, completely shrouding the 320-foot-tall Glenn rocket.
Fox's Jill Nato. The rocket's unmanned, so no one was hurt. Blue Origin CEO Jeff Bezos says it's too early to know the cause, but they will rebuild. An Amtrak train caught fire in a tunnel in New York City early this morning. 5 workers were hurt, 2 seriously, disrupting train service. Former Attorney General Pam Bondi is at the Capitol now to answer House Committee's questions on the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Cameras and microphones will not be allowed, and Bondi will not be under oath. Bondi was subpoenaed to appear while she led the DOJ, but she refused. Bondi did, however, agree to sit for this transcribed interview. She is expected to be at the meeting with Assistant U.S. Attorney General Harmeet Dillon.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. America's listening to Fox News.
55 degrees, sunshine at 8:02. On AM 560, The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. An investigation is underway following a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on Chicago's West Side. One person died following the incident in the 3700 block of West Lexington. What led up to that shooting is not known. No details have been released. There are reports a man was wanted in connection with a violent bank robbery. Illinois lawmakers would have the power to regulate auto insurance rates under legislation headed to Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk. State Representative Thaddeus Jones argues his bill would bring consumer protection and some affordability to residents.
We want to make sure that the auto industry comes into compliance with the Department of Insurance. We want to make sure that rate review happens.
State Representative Jeff Kiker, however, says the Secretary of State can already do this with laws already on the books.
The Secretary of State has this within his power, yet he wants this as a quill in his hat so that he can run for another office.
Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias is rumored to be considering a run for Chicago mayor. Chicago sports, White Sox 6-2 winners over the Twins. They take on the Tigers this evening while the Cubs beat the Pirates and battle the Cardinals this weekend. The news, a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. See Marvin products in their beautiful showroom at the corner of Lake and Gary and Roselle. WoodlandWindows.com for a free in-home expert consultation. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Dell shares are jumping up more than 37%. It's seeing robust demand for its NVIDIA-powered artificial intelligence servers. Dell's raising its forecast for profit and revenue. It's seeing the benefit of data center investments from Alphabet's Google and Amazon, and it has a new $9.7 billion contract with the U.S. military. There's merger news in the food world. International Foods and Fragrances, which makes ingredients for everything from grocery store items to fragrances and biosciences, is selling its food ingredients business to funds managed by CVC Capital Partners. The business is valued at $4.3 billion. Oil prices are retreating. It's the last trading day of the month. The NASDAQ and S&P closed at records again yesterday. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Larry Elder warns of trusting this regime.
Unclear whether Iran has agreed to permanently suspend its pursuit of a nuclear bomb. This is an evil, evil regime. They have been at war against us for 47 years, and there's no reason to believe that it is some sort of deal, that they will stick to it, they will abide by it, that they won't break it.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found Tax Relief Advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
8:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You could save hundreds switching to AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. Hartford Auto Insurance Group pays royalty fees to AARP for use of its intellectual property. Kennedy inbound, 33 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. You're jammed up at Harlem Avenue. Stevenson inbound, stop and go. Inbound between Central and Kedzie. Bishop Ford on the brakes. Cottage Grove into the Ryan merge. And the Jane Addams I-90 eastbound, slowing up on the on-ramp to the inbound Ike. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. First, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with plenty of sunshine, reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect a crystal clear sky with a low of 58. Tomorrow will be breezy, not as warm, with high thin cloudiness and a high of 73. Sunday is set to be beautiful with shifting clouds and sun, reaching a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So the San Diego mosque shooting that we talked about earlier in the week and quickly dissipated into the ether. Gosh, when did it turn? I suppose it turned after we got the manifesto of the two shooters and realized that their motivations, these two teenagers, the motivations to go shoot up that mosque were not because they were from the ranks of MAGA, but because they were Jew-obsessed incel psychopaths. And that was confirmed by what they wrote. You know, everything was, it's the Jews, again and again and again. And they even talked about promoting the assassination of Trump and Vance, for that matter. The problem with the reporting on these incidents is they're politicized. And so you get stilted information and thus not much understanding of the difficult questions that have to be asked in the wake of these horrific events, and how we should think about discussing them, and even from a media perspective, covering them. And that is in part the topic of a piece that my friend Michael Golden recently wrote over at his Substack that was picked up, I think, by RealClearPolitics.com as well. Michael Golden is the author of Unlock Congress, and he writes the Golden Mean column on his Substack. His piece, Neuter the Shooters, What the Media Can Do to Save Lives. Boy, we're relying on the media to save lives. That seems to me a dicey proposition. Michael Golden, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you. It's been a while, bud.
It has. So, I mean, look, one of the thrusts of the argument that you make, I agree with, and I do my best to practice it on this show and have for years because of the research, and part of which you cited. But that is, when you say neuter the shooters, you're really talking about not naming these individuals who commit these horrific acts, and there's a reason for that. Explain.
Yeah, you know, and I referenced in the piece, and thanks for having me on. This issue drives me nuts. Not just, obviously, the first thing is just to save lives and to have these horrendous things stop. But honestly, just from a lack of logic, just sheer common sense logic, to give these guys the infamy that they crave. These people that are doing these shootings, they are either going to a station and dropping something off before they go and do it, or they're leaving a manifesto. They're leaving all the breadcrumbs so that they can be elevated. They're so miserable. You know, they can blame the Jews, they can blame a political party, whatever. They're so miserable in their lives. They're ill. They're ill people who are dying for notoriety and to matter, narcissism beyond. And as soon as, you know, Tom Teves lost his son Alex in the movie theater shooting in Colorado, in Aurora. In fact, I used to call you the Dark Knight for reasons we might get into. But that was the movie playing. So I sometimes think of you when I watch the movie The Dark Knight.
Well, thank you very much. I thank you. I think I'm not sure. I'm not.
No, you like it. Yeah, it's a compliment. It's a compliment in its own fashion. For sure. Tom Teves' son protected his girlfriend in that theater, and he got killed. And Tom's watching all this coverage about the shooter who killed his son, and nothing about his heroic son who saved her girlfriend and probably others in the theater. And he started something called No Notoriety. It's got a whole protocol and everything, but it's about minimizing harm and just not elevating these people and their moronic ideas. I will tell you, Dan, before we get too far. I would take it a step further, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say this. If I was running a media entity or could get them all in the room, the executive producers, and come to the agreement about how to handle this, I would agree on an absolutely insulting, belittling statement where you just fill in you don't even use his name. Just say, we're sorry to report that in Aurora, Colorado, another ill, lonely, pathetic person who should have been in a psychiatric ward has killed people. We're not going to name him. None of us are, because he's not worth it. Let me repeat. He's ill and a loser. Like one sentence, then everybody knows they're going to get if they go do this. They're not even going to hear the name. Their name's not even going to get mentioned.
And speak to, because you, as I said, you referenced it. Criminologists have looked at this in terms of the psychology.
Oh, yeah.
And you talked about they seek notoriety. They feel like their existence isn't recognized, and this is the way they make a mark. I know as evil as that is, but that's part of the psychology that has been revealed in some research that's been done by criminologists.
Yeah, and it's obviously some of it's qualitative because there's only so many mass murderers, but you can still analyze the data. Their names are Langford and Matvest, and they did this study in 2017. The upshot was, quote, don't name them, don't show them, but report everything else. A pragmatic proposal for denying mass killers the attention they seek and deterring future offenders. And they went through it all. I mean, even if you did a Google search of mass murders, you will see almost every one of them, the activities beforehand of counting on spreadsheets sometimes. How many people were killed? How many do I have to do to get the record? How did they get their attention on this media entity, that media entity? It's not like this circuitous line. It is a straight line that runs through these killers. They have failed and are dying to get attention, and the media, especially the large media organizations that give the cues to all the billions of people that go on social media. Newsweek had these guys' names the day of in a headline.
Yeah, I mean, well, of course, it's repeated every 15 minutes on the hour on all the cable news channels too. But and I remember, and I reference this often when we are compelled to talk about these mass killing events, that. When the Chicago Tribune used to be a newspaper, they would not publish the names of people who committed suicide because there was research that suggests that it creates copycats. Now, it's not the same sort of crime, obviously, but the problem is that people feel lonely, they feel isolated, and they think that their only out is to take their own lives. And then they see somebody do that, and there's an outpouring of sadness and attention, and so it can instigate copycats for people that are, teetering on the margins, and so they didn't do it. And so it's sort of the same idea here that you don't want to glorify something that you don't want to see repeated.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. And by the way, they're not saying don't put the guy's name up if it's a suspect where he's at large and still can be dangerous. Then it's an investigation, and you need the community to help in most at large investigations. But it's a great point you bring up. This is not really that complicated. That's why it bothers me. It's so obvious. It's just that it's packed journalism. And I used to be a part of it. I wrote in the article. I used to be. I still get my stomach still gets sick when I see television news segments about murders where a station will banner it exclusive. I used to do that. They're basically saying we need eyeballs and advertisements and money, so we're going to tell you that this tragic story, we're the only one who has it. It's just so it's not like these guys can't get in a room. The powerful people at less than 10 major media entities, and then it's likely others would follow. Now, you'd still have, deep investigators or people with 24 hours and nothing to do go on and figure it out and splash it somewhere on Twitter or X or whatever the hell. But you wouldn't have.
You minimize
it. Yes, right, exactly. And it's astonishing to me that they won't get in a room. And as I wrote in the piece, if you're big media and you're getting criticized every day, which they are, this is a free one. This is a pat on the back by the society. You finally decided to do something, and it's not really going to affect your bottom line. You get 12 of them in a room to say, yeah, this is the least decent thing we can do.
Well, the other important part of what you said, too, referencing the research is, don't report the names, but report everything else. The reporting everything else is part of it, too, which is an ongoing failure. So they report the thing they shouldn't report, and they don't report some of the things that they should report for political reasons. And that becomes a problem, too, because if you're trying to delve deeper into this, because these are all multivariate equations, if you're trying to delve deeper into this, then you have to understand, how is this person radicalized? How did they go from the kid I knew when he was an adolescent to this monster who committed these horrific acts? So maybe there's some things that can be gleaned that are useful for other people if they see their son or daughter going down a similar path, and there can be interventions and so on. So you need to present the body of the other information for the public good, frankly.
For sure. And actually, the third point in Tom Teague's in his organization's no notoriety protocol is one sentence that says, report the facts surrounding the mindset, demographic, and motivational profile without adding complementary color to the individual or their actions, and downplay the individual's name and likeness unless the alleged assailant is at large. Not complicated.
Not complicated. Michael Golden, are you an Arizona resident now? I mean, not to disclose a location,
I am.
Very good.
There's golf courses waiting for you.
Another Chicago.
We're overdue.
Another Chicago or Illinois expat. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm in for 2 days. Actually, it's 60 degrees and nice today here. I stayed in Chicago for just a few days, but this is like as good as you're going to get on May 28th.
It's a nice place to visit, I like to say. Michael Golden, author of Unlock Congress. He writes at the Golden Mean column on Substack his piece, Neuter the Shooters, What the Media Can Do to Save Lives. Mike, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to catch up, my friend. Thanks for inviting me, you and Quinn.
We'll talk soon, and he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The law group you know and trust, Nauman & Associates, is expanding into commercial litigation. When disputes can't be resolved, get the strategic guidance from a litigation lawyer who will fight for your rights. Attorney Richard Cannon brings both strong courtroom and dispute settlement skills. We believe most cases can be resolved without costly courtroom battles, but we prepare as if a trial is possible. When your company needs to stand its ground, contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village. For a consultation, visit nalawgroup.com.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dream at leavingil.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds. And you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600. AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line. 312-642-5600. Take your calls with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crackpottery. We'll take it all. And there are a few matters I still need to get to, including this. The administration needs some help, so Trump supporters, please opine. The musical lineup for the America 250 birthday celebration wasn't particularly impressive to start, and it is getting less impressive with each passing day as these artists drop out. The original featured performers that were advertised, Martina McBride, Young MC, Bust a Move, CNC Music Factory, Vanilla Ice, Milli Vanilli, the Commodores, Morris Day and the Time, Flo Rida, and Bret Michaels. I don't know if that presents enough of a representation of musical artistry that spans the generations. But the additional problem with the lineup is that it's, as I said, being paired. Young MC out, Milli Vanilli out, the Commodores out, Morris Day and the Time is out now, Martina McBride also out. So now you're down to like Vanilla Ice, Flo Rida, Bret Michaels, and CNC Music Factory. This is, this is celebration that begins in earnest next week. Next month, next month, and runs through, of course, the 4th of July. So they need help. Artists that President Trump should reach out to, maybe personally, to join in the celebration. And Martina McBride wrote this long post on social media where she talked about she initially agreed to do this because she thought it was going to be nonpartisan and representative of the greatness of each of our 50 states and so on and so forth. And she found out or came to understand that that's not the case, and this is why she was backing out. I mean, it all sounds weird. It sounds she didn't make any specific allegations, just a general one. It sounds like maybe she just succumbed to political pressure from her fans or artist friends or whatever it was. So there's always going to be that component of it. I haven't heard or seen anything where it's particularly partisan. Trump is the president. There's nothing the left can do about that. It's a celebration of the country and our 250-year existence. And so it should be a unifying event and not political. We're going to need some help, I think, in putting together. Maybe, do we need to call Perry Farrell or somebody? 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. Call in line. Just wanted to put that out there. Text from 847 already. Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers, Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent would be kind of fun. I mean, I do want some of the non-usual suspects, too, not Lee Greenwood. And maybe some upcoming artists. Maybe you get a Kifness in there, although that may be seen as a little political, or 5 Times August. No, but I mean, I have artists I'd love to see. I don't know if they perform, but yeah, you want, some whose perhaps heyday was behind them. Well, like all of the artists I just mentioned that have been invited. But some current, different musical genres. I mean, you want it to be fun, entertaining for the assembled and those watching on television. Glenn in Orlando, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. So on the Mayor Johnson tour to Rome, he had 46 people in his entourage. including the president of Loyola, while Marco Rubio, when he went to Rome, had 6 people in his entourage. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Glenn. And this was BLM Brandon's review of his time with the Pontiff. This is where the pen met the pulpit, coming together.
I believe that the Pope was blessed by our presence today. Our clergy actually led a prayer and prayed with His Holiness, with the Pope. And I don't know how many people get an opportunity to actually pray for him, but at the end of the day, he is still a man.
Yeah. At the end of the day, he's still a man. And the whole, like, the Pope was blessed to be in our presence. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's like, the Pope was literally blessed in our presence because we had clergy that prayed with him. But I think, could also fairly be interpreted as he was. It's just what he said. He was blessed to be in our presence. We really made his day. Brandon Johnson. In terms of the entourage, yeah, it's quite the lineup. I saw some of this. Melissa Conyers-Irvin, the city treasurer of Chicago, is able to make it. That's important. Stacey Davis Gates, CTU president. An alderhuman, Jason Irvin. Yusef Jackson, the newly minted president of Rainbow Push. Reverend Tanya Lozano, she's a communist as well. Many communists here. Another alderhuman, Julia Ramirez, was there. Mark Reed, president of Loyola, as was mentioned. Alderman Lamont Robinson. Carmen Rossi, CEO of a hospitality company. Of the restaurant group, right? Antonio Romanucci, who's an attorney. Phil Stefani. Phil, did you really want to go with that contingent? Couldn't you schedule a time on your own? You probably could have. Jason Lee, senior advisor to the mayor. Quite the august group. A lot of functionaries, political hacks. So I think I saw Guy Ciparone was there, or as part of the contingent. Yeah, Guy Ciparone, political hack. Yeah, it really. Just skimming through the list, it just reads like the city on the decline. That's the kind of list I would think would be there when I see the city of Chicago. When I look at what's happening. It's a city in decline. And when it comes to the quality of the quote-unquote city elders, political, religious, corporate, otherwise, yeah, pretty unimpressive, generally speaking. A lot of suggestions for bands. Slayer. Yeah, that may be a little too hardcore for the 250. I did see Slayer at the Pierre Civic Center. I think I've told that story before. So I won't bore you with it again. Yoko Ono, yeah. Let's see. I thought so. No. Okay. All right. We'll keep going. George in Burbank.
Yeah. Hi, Dan. I just wanted to say I'm sick and tired of hearing every newscaster or weather person saying it's beautiful outside and sunny when it's 86 degrees and they're sitting there in their air-conditioned office and you're outside and you got bugs. And whenever I'm driving, I'm always going towards the sun. I'd rather have it cloudy and give me like 50 degrees, sit outside, smoke a cigar, no bugs, keep your beverage a little colder, and
okay.
Let them. If it's so beautiful outside, go put your news desk in the middle of the parking lot and let's see how beautiful it is out there.
All right, Cheryl Scott, you've been noticed. All right, thanks, George. Complaining about the coverage of the weather. All right. Adam in Midway. He's got some band suggestions.
Hi, yes. I'd like to suggest Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago.
Thanks for the call, Adam. Yeah, both good suggestions. Love Earth, Wind, and Fire. almost, I mean, I'm surprised actually the Village People aren't on the list. And so we could see Trump do his little dance. Maybe that would be perceived as too political, too partisan. I don't. But whatever he does is going to be perceived as political and partisan. So just get good acts and make it an entertaining show, and ignore the nattering nabobs of negatism. Verlon in Michigan.
Okay, Dan. I want to talk to you about slogans that wins past Now, for the past 8 years, I've been right. At the height of woke, Lori Lightfoot said, "I'm black, I'm woman, I'm gay." She won. I called in and told you that when Brandon Johnson, when I heard him say, "I will invest in people," and he kept saying it, and he won. I don't know if you heard Tellerico, whatever his name is, his speech the other day. But he said, "Those who come to serve." That stuck with me. Those who come to serve, and then he wrapped up in a nice bow the left's wish list, from healthcare to yada, 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 all of it. And he ended his speech with, "I will serve you." Now, I don't know if Texans are as stupid as people from Illinois, New York, and California, but I predict this race will be close. I'm not going to say he's going to win, but this race will be close, and I don't believe it will be decided that day. So we're going to see who the makers are, who the hard workers are, and who the takers are, and if it's more takers than hard workers and makers.
Thanks for the call, Verlon. Yeah, well, I mean, the people of Texas obviously have made very different decisions up and down the political power structure there than the people of Illinois, so that should give you some indication. Yeah, I mean, look, as I said the other day, I mean, Paxton is a very flawed candidate, both because I don't think he's particularly dynamic and because of his ethical and moral lapses. But I think probably when it comes down to it, and this is why they're getting out of the gate fast to brand Tallarico as the mindless neo-Marxist weirdo that he is, his choir boy image and invocation of scripture notwithstanding. There was a good actually riff on this too about the infirmities with respect to Paxton's candidacy. Jason Howerton on X. Since I'm going to be hearing this for the next 6 months as a Texas voter, let me answer the question. You would vote for an adulterer over James Tallarico? That's not very Christian. Here's the truth. I would rather vote for almost anyone else who is going to at least advocate for conservative policies over a literal heretic who wears my faith like a skin suit, advocates for policies that harm children, endorses immorality, and generally harms society. Ken Paxton has personal baggage. I don't deny that. But Tallarico has plenty, too. And he openly mocks God's law and treats Jesus as a political mascot, all while pushing a radical far-left agenda that would be a disaster for my state. You see, I'm an adult. I don't expect those who are seeking political office to be my moral superiors or even trustworthy. They are tools to be used to do the least amount of damage via policy. I wish more pastors and men who live godly lives were running. I really do. But the options we get are what they are. It's about policy, not personality. Right. I mean, this is essentially, in many ways, Trump redux in so many ways. And all of this, how can you call yourself a Christian? We're voting for flawed men and women. Now, there are levels of the flaws. Some are disqualifying, some are not, and the context matters because it's a binary choice. And we're adults, and we have to make difficult binary choices. That's what life is about, trade-offs. So that was a good riff. Eduardo in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I would definitely support a Maduro-type operation as far as Mr. Raul Castro. because I believe they have the USS Nimitz nearby. So I definitely would support it. If Trump is in office right now, it's time to get rid of the Cuban communist regime.
All right, thanks for the call, Eduardo. George in Lamont.
But I don't know if you need me for that or not.
George.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, call me back. Thanks.
Are you calling me back, or are you going to call the other guy back? George, Lamont.
I'm calling the other guy back. Sorry.
Good. All right,
Sorry.
that's all right.
I had a question. You earlier, I think it was earlier this week, you were talking to McCarthy about the slush fund, the DOJ slush fund, and he made the comment that, well, it's hard to, say there should be a slush fund when this administration is doing, quote, the same thing. And he didn't have any examples of that. And I know, in general, like they always do, they say, oh, well, he's doing, political prosecutions or whatever. But specifically with regard to the J6 and the over prosecution of many, many J6 people, what was McCarthy's analogy that is, that he claims is currently being done by the administration?
Oh, I'm blanking. Yeah, that was done under Biden. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the J6 was done under Biden, yes, but and he's saying, I thought McCarthy said, well, we're doing this, or not we. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean the slush fund for another. What he analogized the Biden administration did that he's saying Trump is doing with the anti-weaponization fund, right?
Yes, I thought maybe I misunderstood him. I thought he was saying that we shouldn't, it's hard to say to complain about the, over prosecution by the DOJ when Trump is doing the same thing with his DOJ. That's what I thought he was saying.
Not the fund. Yes. And so he's talking about things like opening up a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll. He's talking about, I would probably, I think he's talking about the Comey prosecution, particularly the 8647. That's what he's talking about, using the DOJ to go after his political opponents. That's what he's referencing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems not quite analogous to over prosecution of the J6 people, right? I mean, and I'm not saying some people for J6 shouldn't have been prosecuted, but it seems to me pretty clear that there was a political over prosecution of those, and I thought he was drawing a comparison to that, and it seems a little different when you're just picking on like a Comey, but whatever.
Thanks for the call, George. I completely agree, both in terms of the substance in certain cases, not all 1,000 prosecutions, but generally speaking, I completely agree, and it's different when it's the director of the FBI, for example, because you are bringing the weight of federal law enforcement and the federal government, the power of the federal government against ordinary citizen. And Jim Comey is not an ordinary citizen, not somebody in that role. Former DOJ prosecutor, FBI director. And it has to do, 8647 doesn't, but the other matter of his perjury charges has to do with his professional conduct. That is not the same thing. I agree. By the way, on the anti-weaponization fund, since I brought it up and George didn't, Sparkle Beach Ken meets Patrick Bateman, the governor of California. What a flim-flammer. He offered this.
One thing that I think we're going to try to do with your support is tax 100%. Anyone from California that receives any of those funds, we want to tax 100% of those proceeds. And that's an action the state of California can take. It's an action we look forward to taking.
I mean, it's so wildly unconstitutional, but I know that he's indifferent to that. It's just populist pablum. Bessent was asked about that in his term to serve as Caroline Leavitt yesterday, and this is how that went.
Anti-weaponization fund, your response to the governor's call for 100%?
There's no cure for stupid.
Yeah, there really isn't any immediate cure for stupid. Maybe one of the pharma companies will come up with a magic pill. Nick on the Northwest Side. Hey, Nick. Nick? Okay. How about the other Nick in Kenosha? Yeah, Nick in Kenosha. I got you, Nick.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, was it me? No, I was supposed to tell you that you should have Sean on for the last hour of your show.
Sean who?
He always asks for another hour. Sean Thompson.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's never going to happen. But I appreciate that
he ribs you all the time. You can defend yourself at least.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I can suffer the slings and arrows of Sean from Elmwood Park. Thanks for the calling. I created him out of a whole cloth, for goodness sakes. I don't need to spend more time with him than is absolutely necessary, particularly on the air. But we had fun. The cigar night thing was fun, as always, so we appreciate people coming up. And I know Sean is not man enough to call in and demand more time, so he uses flunkies to call in and waste our time during my Open Mic Friday. I'm just kidding. Roger, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Roger? What? Do we have phone line problems? What's going on here? Jerry in Milwaukee, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I just wanted to congratulate you on the quality and the caliber of your guests. And General Tiger was a great example to today. But I just wonder, do you get these guests through personal relationships, or do you just do a lot of research and ferret them out that way?
Well, thanks for the call, Jerry. I mean, so if you want the sort of behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, I mean, some of it's personal or become personal relationships over time, but our producer Quinn books all the guests, and I sometimes have suggestions, and he otherwise uses his best judgment. But, over time, if you've done this as long as we have here, you build up stables of guests in, sort of different areas of policy or cultural expertise. And, you're always looking to add to the field of people from whom you can draw. And you add when you see somebody comes out with an interesting article or a book or runs for office, something like that. So yeah, that's how we do it. And we try to get a interesting cross-section of guests each morning. I think we do a pretty good job, as good as anybody else out there. I'll say that. Let's try Nick again. Nick, Northwest Side, the other Nick.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Yeah, I love starting my day with you and with your show. I was saying that some time ago, Trump ordered Netanyahu to withdraw his planes to not make an attack when one missile hit, I believe it was in Israel somewhere. And it's a serious problem where Trump seems to call the shots too much on his own. I think that's where this no king stuff comes from. I sort of see that from that. He's got to rely a little bit on someone who's diplomatic, such as Rubio. You got to rely on someone who has a military background and knows how to get things done, such as Hegseth, and maybe one other or two others of a similar mind frame, balance it out. Because that told the Iranian people who run the government there now, which are no good, that they can rely on Trump to be indecisive, to back off, like a lot of Western societies are. And that's the one problem why we're having this stalemate here. This is going to drag on for months and months the way it's going. So that's my opinion, Trump. Please get some, as best as you can, get outside people their opinions. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks for the call, Nick. I mean, I'm sure he's taking input from his inner circle of advisors, including at the cabinet level, including from the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper, and others in the military that he trusts. I'm sure he is. And then, in terms of the conversations and the collaborations between Trump and Netanyahu here as it pertains to Iran and the larger Middle East, I mean, they've got a relationship. And, so they're going to talk. You're going to have heads of state talk directly, and that's okay. So, I don't think it's so much that he's going it alone and he's his own, he's singularly his own counsel. I think that, there are legitimate questions to ask about the thinking behind the decisions he's making, but I don't think he's going it alone. In fact, one of the things you could argue, as we've sort of plumbed the depths of this week, is whether he's being too deferential to the Gulf states. Rick in Carroll Stream.
Hey, Dan. There's a yard sale in West Chicago this weekend. It's for Love You More Animal Shelter. So all the proceeds will go to help out the puppies.
Okay, where's the yard sale?
In West Chicago on Wilson, just south of Roosevelt, up of Joliet.
Okay. All right. To help the puppies. Thanks for the call, Rick. It sounds like Spencer Pratt's campaign platform. He was on with Fox and Friends and had this to say. He's doing GOTV right now. Don't forget that primary is Tuesday. And recent polling, I know we're focused on Pratt and Karen Basura Bass, but polling has this, like, basically some polling, not all, but some polling has this, all three candidates, that Nithya Raman within the margin of error as well. So, yeah, if you're an LA resident or want to go out and be one for a day based on their election laws, here's his push.
Sorry, can I just get that second part of the question?
Yeah, I have a feeling God wants me just to win with 51% on June 2nd, and it's over. I believe it's a low turnout election, and that's why, again, I'm on this beautiful couch to remind everybody to get your ballots in today. Don't wait till June 2nd, because we will definitely win if everyone who's as angry as me in Los Angeles just goes and votes, and they don't just share things on social media or tell their friend they're angry. They physically go vote, and they don't have to wait till June 2nd. A lot of people are concerned about elections and you've got to vote in person. No, you vote today. You put it in the mailbox, you drop it in the ballot box. We win with the most votes. And a lot of people, again, in California are concerned about, election fraud. We can always outvote cheating, period. And we can do that literally in the next 5 days with just moms alone and animal lovers, because I'm also going to stop the abuse of these dogs on the streets and these alleged no-kill shelters that are.
Yeah, he's big on that, moms and the animal lovers. And he's documented the abuse of animals in these homeless encampments and so on and so forth. He's pretty serious about that. And just to piggyback on that GOTV effort, he also offered this message to undecideds.
All right, Spencer. So what is your message to people who are still undecided?
Undecided? Well, they obviously don't live in Los Angeles City. So if they're undecided, they must be in a different country. Because if you live in LA City, you know I'm the look around candidate. And if you're looking around and you're still undecided, I'm concerned for your health. You need to go get your brain checked and get a doctor's appointment. Or maybe you enjoy stepping in human poop or the smell of fentanyl smoke at the park. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. I mean, I could go on. So I don't think there's very many undecided voters. I think that's why on June 2nd, I will become the mayor with 51% of the vote. So just make sure, the only thing you're probably undecided about is if you put your ballot in the mail today or you vote in person. And I would say for that, vote today. Do not get in your head about, I have to vote in person. It's more secure. That's nonsense. Get your ballot in the mail, whether it's at the post office or in a ballot box. Just vote today.
All right. I like the look around candidate. Look around, and is what I'm telling you true? Is that how you're living? Is that what you're seeing? Are these the things you're concerned about? And I think that's really been his sort of unvarnished description of what is true, is what's fueled his campaign, compounded with and advanced by, the creative ads and the outside help with AI and so forth. I got to get this in because this is a classic, and it's a favorite topic. It's probably right below attacks on Cubs fans. I mean, rhetorical attacks, like Lee Elia's rant. Well, this rant against cyclists is to cyclists what Lee Elia's rant about Cubs fans was, and both are spot on.
I cannot stand these bicyclists. When I'm doing 30 and a 50 because I'm stuck behind 8 grown men dressed like radioactive highlighters, I start to develop opinions. Why the are you guys riding 3 deep down the road? Like they're not handing out gold medals at the end of this cul-de-sac, Kyle. And why the you wear the spandex with all the sponsor names? Like, Nobody
Kyle.
is looking at you and saying, oh, this 43-year-old might be the future of athletics. Nobody looks like they're having fun. Nobody is smiling. They look like they're transporting organs that have to be to the hospital in 6 minutes or less. Meanwhile, traffic is backed up 3 zip codes because Chad in his tour to midlife crisis thinks the road belongs to him and Team Spandex Thunder. And then when you go to pass them, they throw their hands up like you're the villain, like you just violated the Geneva Convention. Meanwhile, you just spent $10,000 to be the world's most expensive inconvenience. And why do these guys travel in packs? One bicyclist, sure, I can handle that, but 8 of them? That's a tactical formation. That's a infantry unit. And they roll up on you sounding like a flock of asthmatic geese.
I mean, that's an all-time classic right there. Instant classic. Bill in Waukegan. Oh boy.
Hey Dan. Thanks for taking my call. It's great to be back on U.S. soil. I just wanted to comment. I called you from Spain on the Camino del Norte, and I just want to tell you, if anybody's ever interested in doing something that is just majestically beautiful because you walk along the ocean and you get to the Cathedral de Santiago to touch and view the St. James holiness that's there, I tell you, it's well worth it, Dan. I suggest if before you blow out your back playing golf or something like that, you go out there and you try it and just enjoy the camaraderie of people you don't even know from different countries and everything else like that. I tell you, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I just wanted to say that I try to listen to every time I was walking. And I tell you, it was the best part of the day. So thanks again, even internationally, for putting me on and for taking care of everything. You guys, you and your crew are amazing. And thanks again. I just want to let you know that it was a great time.
Thanks. I appreciate you, Bill. Thanks so much. And now that you're back, you got a bit of a voter fraud problem in Waukegan. It reared its ugly head when you were gone. Make sure people aren't voting for their dead mothers up there, if you would. We appreciate that.
Okay. All right, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. See ya. Dawn, Naperville.
Good morning, Dan. How are you this morning?
Good.
So you had spoken about Eric Church a few weeks ago in his commencement speech, which was fantastic. But I wanted to let you know, and your listeners know, that some years ago he had a song called The Outsiders. And I think it was US 99 that had him on, and he did a parody song about Northsiders and Southsiders, and it was really good. I mean, we're going back here to what, like 2005, 2006, so I don't remember the specific, words of the song, but if anybody has a copy of that anywhere, it is really good. And, nobody can make fun of Cub fans better than Mike North. So,
yes, well, that's very good. Yeah. Maybe we'll have Mike North
on your show, Dan.
We'll get the lyrics to the Eric Church song and have Mike North on to sing them. How about that? Thanks for the call, Don. I have to dig that up. PM, quickly, PM.
560s man in Europe. I am reporting breaking news from Vatican City, covering what was perhaps the most consequential political and diplomatic summit this century. I am one of 45 dignitaries, spelled D-I-D, accompanying Mayor Brandon and his Johnson as America's most devout, God-fearing, and deeply hairstyled mayor visits the Holy See, seeking the Pope's most profound prayers, namely those designed to force Chicago Bears to keep playing its soldiers. However, according to my sources in the Curia, America's very first Pope in 2,000 years has thus far been unwilling to meet the prayer requests of Chicago's mayor, most known for his humility, because...
All right, PM. I told you to be quick. I mean, I appreciate the on-the-ground reporting, but we got to get to Chuck and Delavan to close it out.
Hey, big day on Sunday, downtown Sharon, Wisconsin, 8 a.m. There's a big car show by Pat's Brewing Q, and then there's going to be a band at the band show at 4 o'clock, and there'll be plenty of dancing.
Great, Chuck. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody else as well. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560.
It was a very rough day. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Blue Origin CEO reacted to the rocket blowing up on the launch pad, and Jeff Bezos vows to rebuild.
The explosion lit up the night sky over Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and was seen, heard, and felt by residents along Florida's Space Coast.
Fox's Jonathan Seri says it happened during a test.
Blue Origin had been preparing the rocket for an unmanned flight to deliver Amazon LEO high-speed internet satellites to low Earth orbit next week. However, Blue Origin intends to use New Glenn rockets to launch lunar landers on future missions for NASA's Artemis program.
Since